Scott Bradley $4.99, $4.99. Pog Pog Pogaroos.
The reason you haven't felt it is because it doesn't exist. What you call love was invented by guys like me.
Is that right?
Are you sure about it? Living like there's no tomorrow, because there isn't one.
I think I realized it until this moment. It must be hard being a man, too.
You're born alone and you die alone, and this world just drops a bunch of rules on top of you to make you forget those facts, but I never forget. Love was invented by guys like me.
Kill me again. Hello? Oh, hey, what's up? Wow. Oh my god. It's working. The magic of streaming. Boom, 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 boom. This. Do we turn that down?
Because I'm putting 100%.
What about this?
DGGL.
DGGL. Yeah, that's okay. Low light. No, we don't care about that. Boom, boom. Ooh, this light is really warm. This light was too warm. Or maybe it's not. Who cares? My background is garbage anyway. Boom. Hello. Don't watch the irrelevant stream. It's not worth the pain. Uh-oh. Indigenous population defeats technologically superior invaders. I'm pretty sure that the Taliban, since what, fucking 94, has been getting like pretty big help from like Pakistan and I think Russia too. The Taliban is not like some like cave-dwelling like Neanderthal people. They're pretty sophisticated. Oh, and Saudi Arabia as well. I think I need to go back and read because the Taliban they're Sunni extremists. I'd have to go. I need to go back and study more for that. Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Oh, warning, because apparently I need to say this when I talk to people. I am streaming. Okay.
Oh, you're streaming. Oh, okay. Good you told me because I wouldn't have expected it.
Okay.
Do you ever feel like an NPC in like someone
How's
else's
life? How you doing? Public
Please
enemy
unignore me in
#1.
I won't try to get
Well,
in
you've
with the
certainly
bees,
frightened
not
me with
choke
your
again,
DMs. So,
DGGL.
what do you want to tell me about?
Well, or you said you wanted to chat.
Oh, is that how those DMs went? Interesting. I mean, it sounds
Wait,
like
hold
I
on.
should
Wait.
be-
I'm sorry. I'm exposing you. You said, I'm talking to Lauren Southern tomorrow. I wanted to see if you had any tips. Are you streaming that? Yeah, that's what you asked me. So I didn't know if you wanted to like chat about it.
Yeah, but then you freaked me out because, let me go find the message. Now you're making me dig through DMs, bro.
Well, yeah, no, I said that like if you talk to her, the Twitter mob is going to come for you to like murder you.
Culliver,
Yeah.
$5.
Yeah, you freaked me
Your
out,
mum was right
obviously.
about Trump.
Oh, well.
He is better than Biden. Smiley face.
Okay, so do you have tips? Do you have advice? Happy to hear you out.
Well, it depends on what are you trying to do? What's the goal?
So the main goal at this point is to hold this balance between what I actually want to talk about, which is like, what is your prep and how do you navigate a conversation where you're able to stay on top of other people and really put some pressure on them and like come out on top in these debates. And then like at the same time trying to balance like the expectation on me to like point out things that she's done that are wrong or things that people have misgivings
Do you ever feel
about
like an
or
NPC in, like,
you know
someone else's
do this in a
life?
responsible way. But the difficult thing is I'm not a debater. I don't really want to argue with her about shit. And I'm not sure how exactly I bring that stuff up while like it seems like a balance where like these are two very different goals to go for.
Yeah, so the most important thing, like step one is you have to figure out like what is your goal with the conversation?
Yeah, so those are the two. Basically, talk to her about how she's successful in debates and if there are tips that we can give to other people regardless of their ideology. And then at the same time, like making a remark or reference to the things that she's done wrong enough to like appease the Twitter people who would be upset with my platforming her at all.
Well, so the problem is like those two things, those are two very separate conversations. Like you can have them together, but like on one hand, it's like, hey, so like how do you prepare for debates? Like, is there some kind of special prep you do? Is there some kind of like, you know, how do you research or whatever? And also, do you disavow when you used to be a Nazi fuck 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like these are like two totally different types of conversations. I don't really
And
know.
further,
Yeah,
I
go
don't
for
think
it.
she disavows that shit. That's the other problem. Like I've been through like every video where she tackles criticism, she just kind of just deflects.
So the
or, like,
problem,
comes
yeah.
out-
So I can speak from a personal level because I can empathize with her position. The problem isn't that she won't disavow anything that she's used to believe in, or that she used to believe in, or in private conversations to me, she says that she's moderated a bit. But the problem is people usually want her to disavow things that she feels like she never stood up for or believed in or did. That's the problem. So like in my understanding of all the things that Lauren talked about, I would say that I felt like she was pretty squarely like alt-right. I feel like pretty comfortable about that. But a lot of the people that she associated with were farther right than that, like extreme far right, or maybe even Nazis, when I think of people like Stefan Molyneux. But the problem is that when people go after her and they're like, you need to disavow this, they start hitting her with things that she feels like she never believed in, so she doesn't really want to disavow that. I guess for something similar, it would be like if you came to me and you were like, do you disavow what you said about Rittenhouse? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And you were like, do you disavow you saying that you wanted to kill all BLM protesters? I'm going to say, no, fuck you. I never said that. I'm not disavowing that. Fuck you. But if you said, do you disavow that maybe the way you said it was like a little bit heated and somebody could reasonably walk away from that clip at least thinking that you wanted like protesters to be killed? Then I might be like, yeah, maybe that was like, that clip was definitely too heated. I should have like been a little bit more careful with my language there. But you see, there's like, you're going to elicit two completely different responses based on how I perceive what you're calling me out for. Does that make sense?
Right. And I guess like my encouragement, and it's honestly the same criticism that I have for you a lot of the time, is to be charitable when you're making an apology or when you're addressing criticism, and try to give as many concessions as you can fit in to charitable interpretations of like the criticisms that are being levied at you. And she really doesn't do that. She creates an entire narrative for why everybody's wrong. Everybody else is doing the thing that she's being called out for being wrong. And here's why. They're motivated reasoning. They're political opponents. Like these are the notes that I have from her most recent like addressing criticism video, and that's like way off the mark for wrong.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
because
I guess
she prepared that in advance too. She got to pick what she thought the criticisms were.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends on what your goal is. For me personally, I've said this a million times. I don't care about apologies. It's not something I'm ever interested in. I just don't. But I think that if you were trying to have like an effective conversation, I think that it's probably better to let her lead, but open it with a question of like, do you feel like you have political positions that are the same now as you did in the past? And if not, what positions have changed a little bit? Because then you give her the ability to say, well, I believed X, Y, and Z about trans people, Jews, whatever, in the past, but I don't really believe that anymore. I think I was too extreme. Or if you want an even more pointed question, maybe you can say, why do you think people believe that you had these types of beliefs in the past? Like, sure, there's going to be some sensational reporting, but do you ever regret like hanging around people that you used to? Or do you think that like maybe the company that you kept might have like reasonably led some people to think that like you were more extreme than maybe even you felt? Like, if you do questions like that, then I think you can kind of walk through a conversation where the other person has simultaneously the ability to bring up things that they genuinely don't feel anymore, but then also kind of like get to save their own like sense of self by being like, I was never a Nazi, I didn't believe this thing or that thing. I think that people are too extreme there. If you were trying to like go that route, that's probably what I would say you should do, but yeah, I don't know.
Oh, wonderful, because those are already like the two things I'm opening with.
Okay,
and then beyond that, looking at other people, like to get like a scale for her. Like, what are some dangerous ideologies or positions that
I
you'd
feel like
criticize
I've
a public
outpaced
figure
him
for supporting and
intellectually.
advocating? To like be able to know where she draws those lines as well, because I never really hear her talk about that outside of like throwing it at lefty people. And so there's going to be a good bit in here about like, okay, if we both sides this shit, like where are you drawing the lines on the right side for people? Where are you drawing the lines on the left side for people? How do you word that criticism? And let me see if I could like package that in your kind of wrapping and show you how like the stuff that you're doing is pretty detestable in this way and this way that you're describing.
Yeah, I guess basically like, so you're trying to say like, so your goal here is to be able to criticize some of her recent content, basically?
Yeah, and probably more so in a future conversation, because I would want to prep that stuff. But basically,
I would just
getting
say,
some.
So Lauren has like dipped her toes. No, Lauren has been full on like living like the political world for a long time. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. Nobody understands this. Okay. I am one of the only people, I'll jerk myself up, I'm one of the only people online that really, I super duper care about all the things that I talk about, and I do a lot of reading, even more than we talk about on stream, about a lot of these topics and a lot of the periphery things related to these topics, because I really do care. Most people do not, okay? Lauren Southern absolutely did. So if you've read like a Twitter, no, she cared about them and she read and researched. Now, whether it was right or wrong, yes.
No, you're completely like, it really depends on what video you're talking about, because she's admitted that she did not do that on at least a couple of videos.
Here's what I'm saying is that she might have said that like the research that she did was bad or wrong, but what I'm telling you is that if you try to attack her because of something that you read in a Twitter headline, you are going to get absolutely fucking destroyed. It's not going to be like, it's not going to be like a conversation with Lance or Mike from PA or one of these dipshits that have like a Twitter thread. Like, if you're going to attack her, like, hey, you said this and that's wrong, she's going to be ready with like, well, I heard from this guy, this source, this. She's going to have that ready. So if you have a criticism of her, it needs to be really, really well founded, or else you're going to flounder and she's going to come out looking really strong. And if your goal is to attack a position, obviously that's going to be contrary to what you want. That's the only thing I say when you should be careful. She's not like the typical like lefty dipshit on Twitch that has no fucking idea what they're actually talking about.
Destiny to get 83% off Surfshark.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try to avoid any like beyond 2 levels of like arguing back and forth with her. But Vosh is similar in that regard. Like, all right, I'm gonna tell you like what I think the problem is, or like what I think rhetorically you could do to improve it. If you want to fucking argue, you can go argue with somebody else, because I don't do that ever. And that's another problem is like people want me to ask these questions or bring up these topics, but if I'm not going to like debate it and go like down the logic tree with her, like I think people are going to be really disappointed.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any other way like to do that. Like, what do you want me to do? Argue with her without prep? And
But
like,
that's
do
what
that?
that's
Like,
what people
not
want.
at all
Like,
about the point of this.
right now, everybody in this entire Twitch sphere is just waiting for like a public execution of her. That's all anybody wants to see. They're waiting for somebody to be like, "You said this in 2016, and it's wrong and bad and blah blah blah." That's all people want right now. So any conversation you have that isn't you like obsessively talking about like the Christchurch shooter or anything video that she's done 5 years ago, whatever, people are going to be pissed off. That's just the reality of the situation. But it sounds like the conversation you're trying to have with her is not going to be focused on that, so people are going to be pissed off. But I mean, even my fan base is like constantly pissed off, and the hatred for this person is very, very high too. I've got like people listening to League games we're playing where they're like, if you up the volume right here, you can hear her quietly walk back a statement while we're like in the middle, and it's like, oh my god, you guys are delusional. Yeah, so just I would say that one of the most important things you learn in customer service is managing customer expectations, because that's going to determine whether or not they're upset or not. It's not really how good or bad the product is, it's what they expect. So as long as you're super clear in the beginning, like, hey, I'm just talking to her about like her rhetoric and stuff like this, and that's it, and my goal isn't to like dig in and like shit from like 5 years ago. I mean, like, people won't get as mad, but that is really all people are waiting for. That's what everybody wants.
So it's sounding like, because my plan was to have maybe 20 to 30% be focused on these topics just to like make sure that they were set on air. But it sounds like I should just remove that and just go full force into what I want to talk about. And then if we get around to those other things, and we could, is that preferable, or should I stick with the current plan of like at least getting some footholds around like what she thinks about like canceling or changing her mind or positions or the controversy?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it super depends on what your goal is, because again, I think that those are two super different conversations. Number one being like, how do you prepare for debates? And number two, like, do you disavow or do you think differently? Because one of these is like, how do you prepare for a debate? It's kind of like you have like a math tutor and he comes in and you're like, well, how would you study for like a Calc 3 test? And also, do you regret cheating on your girlfriend? Like, these are like two like totally, it's like totally different conversations. Not to say that you couldn't have both. I'm just saying that it's going to be like way different like vibes for each half of that conversation, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe I could shoot past you how I had planned to connect these, and you could tell me if this might make sense in practice.
Yeah, go for it.
Like, from my perspective, if I can just get some general answers from her in the very beginning as like litmus tests that we can apply to her other statements later, then what I can do is I think for her in particular, handling criticism is something that's going to be really important, and she fucks it up like a lot. It's quite a big problem, like rhetorically for her. So I actually do think it's significant if she wants to do good in debates to learn how to handle criticism better, learn how to appease people that are looking for that out of her better, and reconcile like her belief that you need to take your head out of the fishbowl and that you need to stop doing motivated reasoning or blaming everything on ideology with like constantly calling all of your detractors motivated by like politics and engaging in motivated reasoning and not really criticizing you, but criticizing, just because they believe in something different politically. Like,
I understand that, but it's going to be hard because a lot of her detractors legitimately don't give a fuck. Like, their criticisms are oftentimes unfounded, and they really don't care like if she's changed positions or not. They just want to destroy her. Like, that's literally the whole goal. So, like, and I think we've kind of disagreed, or maybe we agree more on this on the past. But like, I think that it takes a very, very, very powerful person to be able to stand in a wave of just vitriolic hate from people that don't like you and couldn't give a fuck less if you killed yourself tomorrow, and try to extract meaningful criticisms out of those people. That's a really hard thing to do. And in terms of like the people that get like, and I'll bet my life on it, I know right now, if you were to poll like all of the people in the leptosphere and you were to say like, hey, do you legitimately think it'd be good if Lauren came back with like more moderated beliefs, but she was still like a conservative, or do you think she should disappear forever? 95% of them would say she should disappear forever. She should never come back ever. So if that's like the crowd of people that are criticizing her, and if you look at like some of the criticism she's dealt with, so look at like how Lance treated their last debate, that was unbelievable. It's not really surprising to me that she doesn't engage with it and like, oh well, I'm sure these are good faith criticisms of my beliefs, but she's probably more thinking like, these guys are just assholes that are super motivated, and I'm going to nitpick the fuck out of every criticism they give, and I'm not going to take much of it very seriously. It wouldn't surprise me. Like, I would expect her to engage with it that way, even if it's not optimal.
Sure. Then it would be better to give her a more optimal strategy, right? That is like 2 steps removed from that current one, so that she could easily move to it.
But yeah, it just depends on like, she has to have you. Fine, it sounds really creepy talking about like her particularly. So what I like to serve as, is I want to be like a hook for somebody to feel comfortable like exploring ideas with me. So something that she said, hopefully I'm not leaking or whatever, but so something that she said to me privately, she said that I'm one of the few people that she feels comfortable kind of like flirting with more leftist ideas, because in any other area where you do that, either one, people don't believe you, or two, they're like, it's not enough for you to say like, well, maybe this is okay. People want you to go like 180 over to the other direction instantly. So I think that like something that you can do like personally, or like the best, something that I try to do is like, I want to be like a soft landing pad, so that like if you are an alt-righter or a Nazi or whatever, that at least you can be like, okay, maybe like, so maybe there is a white genocide, but at the very least, like maybe Jews aren't doing it intentionally, okay? And I want to be somebody to be like, okay, good job. I'm glad that you can, at least I got you on that. And like, I'm not like ultra judgmental about it. I'm not here to hammer you over the head and call you a dumb fuck about it, but like, at least we can have a conversation and we can kind of like find some common ground. That's generally like my goal. And I think you need people like me. You need those stepping stones or those hooks where it's like, I feel like I can talk to this person without being ultra fucking judged about where I'm coming from. Because if you have that, and that's what it looks like, no one is ever going to come back to any other side. They're all just going to stay with the most extremist friends they have. Because why the fuck would they go talk to anybody that disagrees with them if they're just going to get called like a Nazi, fascist, horrible person the whole time, you know?
Nathan Prime.
So, oh man, this
Yeah,
is where you can help me. I believe that you're right, but the optically aware side of me knows that that is always a losing battle to do in public. Like I had
considered about having debates or arguments with like very far right-leaning people because she's worried that she'll agree on too much and it'll look bad. So she gave like the same type of thing that you said, where she's worried about like how like certain conversations will go, because optically everybody's just going to see it as like, oh, she agreed on that, she's a Nazi still, blah 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 blah. And like, yeah, that is a problem. But I mean, the reality of the situation is just that like most people in like the public, most like fan bases or crowds or whatever, they don't really want to see like that healthy type of like conversation or rehabilitation or whatever. I don't like to use the word rehabilitation also, it's really condescending, but they don't like to see that healthy type of conversation. They just want to see like a slaughter fest. Like that's all they want to see, is like you eviscerate somebody politically. Like that's all they care about.
Okay. But I don't know if you're the best guy to go for this question, but like, how optically can I like make sure that she knows that door is open, and to establish that kind of relationship? Like, oh man, this is like a third goal that just doesn't mesh with this other one, right? Like, okay, the goal thing is important. It's sounding like I should abandon the goal of appeasing the people who are going to be like really upset about like not mentioning the criticisms about her, and just like really, really try to focus on building a relationship so that like I can do what I know is going to be better for everybody, in like forming a relationship with her where maybe I could change her mind on stuff in private, because it's probably a better way.
Those things are contradictory, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't think you can do that, because what the public wants is not any type of like healthy conversation. They just want a bloodbath. So like, yeah, those two things are always going to be contradictory, I think. There's no way around it, but.
Okay. Fuck. I spent so many hours on prep for just that one little bit of the conversation. It's sounding like it's probably not best to do it.
Or you could do it, and the experience that you get when you look at the public backlash you'll get, maybe that'll be a good. because you can see.
Well, that's
that,
the other thing. I don't want to get blackpilled about this shit and get mad and then go, you know what? Fuck all of you. You're all fucking stupid. You're all fucking awful. You expect too fucking much. You don't have realistic. Like I don't want to get like that. I feel like I'm gonna get like that if I lean into this and people act like that.
That another thing that I try to like. This is just like a vocabulary. I try not to use words like converting somebody or like bringing somebody over, because I feel like when you say that, I feel like the implication is that you're starting in the correct position and you are like finally showing them the light. I think that having that holier than thou attitude is a big turnoff to a lot of people as well. Like I just like to phrase it as like, I think that we probably agree on more than the other person realizes, and I just want them to realize that, I guess. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. The public perception is never going to be what is best to kind of like convert people. That's just not, because most people, again, just they are very tribalistic, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, and I think that that's right. The rhetoric there is bad, and I think an even better way to word it that's wrapped up in the direction that Southern seems to want to go based on her video is like helping her to better understand both sides of things, because that's what she's talked about wanting to do in her documentaries, bringing out like people who are strong on both sides of an issue and evaluating those positions. And I think that as somebody who has been so radically entrenched in one side of things for so long and engaging this motivated reasoning that she wants to get away from, it's going to be really difficult for her to do that, to look at things that way. So maybe like helping her to kind of like translate between one side and the other is a better way of looking at it. Like, I can give you like a way of wording this that it will help you understand it better as somebody starting from the other side of things.
Yeah. I think a really, really good question to ask somebody in that is like, what kind of steps do you take to make sure that you're like adequately representing the other side? Like, how do you feel like you're truly connecting with that? Because when people will start talking, like if somebody's like, oh, I don't know, and it's like, okay, I don't think you've thought about this at all. But I think for a lot of people, if they have genuinely been introspective in that, they'll have pretty interesting answers that you can dive into. Because like you said, like she is like very obviously has been in very, very, very far right communities. So, you know, her idea of what is a left representation might be really skewed. So it might be good to have that conversation.
And what was the question or the topic again? Sorry, I was taking another note.
Like asking somebody, like, what do you do to make sure that you have a fair representation of the other side?
Okay. Any tips for talking to Southern personally from your constant engagement with her?
I treat everybody like a human being. That's all I do. I'm really lucky in that my background, because I grew up like Catholic and religious, like I have like a really wide variety of people that I've spoken to. So I think I can talk to like most people like decently. But like I think that the biggest strengths that I have of like an individual person for people talking to me is like I'm very, very, very not judgmental. So hopefully most people that talk to me feel like they can be pretty open without me being like, wow, that's horrible or whatever. Yeah, I mean like this gets into just like how do you talk to people personally or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Any advice on handling the ensuing Twitter mob of people that are not going to be happy regardless of what I do?
No, everybody wants a public execution. That's if you don't do that, people are going to be mad. So that's there's no way out of that.
I forget that you're like, I just don't care about anybody or anything.
All I would say is that, like, again, like this is like the golden customer service rule is managing expectations, right? Like, why is it that people go to really good steakhouses and sometimes they're upset when the steak isn't that good, but they can go to like a Village Inn and get a steak and eggs and they're super happy with that steak? It's because when you go to Village Inn, you're not expecting, like a 5-star whatever fucking steak. So your expectations are low.
Stop stuffing your fat fucking mouth.
You're generally okay. So all you can do is do that. Like if you're very clear and you're like, my goal isn't to have like a giant fucking debate over 2016, migrant flares. I just want to talk about rhetoric. Like that's the best thing you can do to manage people's expectations.
All right, fair enough. I'm gonna go set things up with her. I appreciate the talk. Have a good rest of your stream.
Yeah, good
luck. Hope I don't fuck this up.
Have fun. Wow, it's so weird because I'm talking to her and then I get all these people messaging me who are like, I'm gonna debate her, I need help. So I've got like Booksmarts messaging me and then Fanatic is messaging me. It feels so weird. Did you rant about the insurrection thread yet? I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'll reiterate again. I've said this a million times. The only thing I care about is what is true and what is factually correct. I don't give a fuck about your political ideology. I don't give a fuck about anything besides that. If you start off on the wrong foot factually, I don't give a fuck about anything you have to say. I said a long time ago, okay, talk about the diet thread. Before Lauren made any fucking video, before anyone, I said a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure you can go back and watch videos, I was really uncomfortable calling like the January 6th riots or whatever, like a fucking coup attempt. Just because like that to me comes off as like a heavily organized thing. Like, was it horrible? Absolutely. You know, did Trump's rhetoric spur that violence on? Absolutely. Was that a historic event in the United States? Absolutely. But like, I don't know if you have to call it like an organized insurrectionist like movement. Like that seems kind of weird. And then when I was reading through that thread, when people are like, oh, well, any type of violence against the government like that, blah, 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 is an insurrection. Oh, okay. So is BLM an insurrection then? Is that a fair statement? I don't know what that guy responded to when I said that. This guy said, an insurrection is a violent act of resistance against the government. And then I said, do you believe BLM was an insurrection? No, because I think there isn't a significant violent factor among BLM as a whole. But that doesn't work because the vast majority of the protesters also weren't violent on January 6th. It was just a few people that broke in, right? Do you understand do you see the motivated reasoning? Do you see how the definition doesn't fit? Like, most of the people on January 6th were just like fucking fat Republicans standing around that wanted to take fucking pictures. Like, the vast majority of them were not walking around with fucking zip ties and crazy shit. Like, so you agree with her video somewhat? I haven't watched her video. I don't know. But if her video basically just says it wasn't like an organized coup, then I probably agree with it. But if her video says it like it wasn't that big of a deal and it didn't matter that much, then or if she tries to say like it's not Trump's fault, I wouldn't agree with that. Absolutely not.
Stop stuffing your fat fucking mouth.
Did you see Rella talk to the deer at all? Fun times.
No.
Thank you, Steven.
Any Wowie posters? Wowie.
Let's get some hot takes on evictions. How many people are still unable to get work or get rent assistance after 1.5 years of this pandemic versus how many people are just not paying rent because they can't get evicted? At some point, the problem is that, like, eviction moratorium, like, nobody wants anybody to get evicted ever. That's the problem. So people want the eviction moratorium to stay forever. But the reality is at some point they have to go. I don't know. I don't know what that meter is. Like, how do you figure out, like, when it should go? But I mean, like, it seems like there's a lot of places to work right now. There was a lot of UI. There was a ton of stimulus. Like, why would we still have a moratorium on evictions? I don't know. That's weird. What is this? Hold on. Why is he playing Annie?
Not bad.
He even has, does he have Hourglass? Is that bottom middle item? And he got like one shot by that? Nine out of 10 edgy Wicked Supreme joke. We can't see? I can't like show you my shit. Sorry, get fucked. Federal Reserve will start dialing back its ultra-low interest rate policies this year as long as hiring continues to improve. Damn.
I have a mod. I have a fan mod for that joke, Dylan.
Fan
you know that Destiny is closer to you than ever. He's more like family than ever because he smoked meth and ruined your life.
Nice.
Ooh.
That is. Oh my god. Ooh. That's a good one. I like that one.
I can hear the copium in your voice, Dylan. I can hear the copium there.
Oh, you want to tell me why it's copium, Gabby?
No, you
Describe
can
in
figure it out.
detail.
I believe you can figure it out.
You believe, why can I figure it out, Gabby?
Because I believe you're a smart, intelligent individual. You can figure out what part of that was copium in your laugh
Uh-huh.
and in your action. Yep, I believe in you.
Wasn't that?
Give bigger taps to champions that are rarely seen in pro games. This is a lot more exciting for everyone, not just pro fans. It's a lot more risky. Here's an example of a changeless we're considering to make Draven a better pro pick. R. Whirling Death. If Whirling Death's damage would leave an enemy champion's health below Draven's current League of Draven stacks, he executes them. Ooh, no way. That would be... So if you had like 500 stacks on Draven and you ulted, that would actually be such a fun change. I don't think it would change the game that much, but if you had like 500 stacks and you R'd somebody and they were beneath 500 HP, you execute them, that would be sick as fuck. Fuck, that would be so sick. Fuck, that would be so sick.
Scott Bradley $4.99. $4.99. So what was meth like?
It was great. I fucked your mom for 15 hours straight. Are you going to listen in on Booksmarts? Yeah, I think I might. Am I still going over this? They blocked me on Twitter. What a loser. This was such an unbelievable thread. Oh, I think they privated their account. Jesus.
Fucking dubstep.
What was the thread? So the thread was, this is, dieting is the rent racial capitalism extracts for living in a body. It's like such an unbelievably horrible thread. Capitalist fat phobia means that this discipline costs money. Diet practices and diet foods, diet club, exercise, etc. are really goddamn expensive. They're not. Fat phobia makes dieting all but compulsory for fat people. Without performing weight loss, fat people are often unable to access healthcare, clothing, social spaces, even their own families. For capitalism, it isn't enough for food to cost money. They have to maximize profits. Diet culture guarantees profits ad infinitum because dieting is cyclical, because diets create more fat people. This is racist and specifically anti-black because it turns bodies into profit centers. Jesus.
Joshua Sakanthan, $6 Canadian and 99 cents. Is the Prime K's drama video part 2 Electric Boogaloo still gonna come out considering the apology?
Maybe, I don't know.
Eranacha, $5. Does Dylan hold a grudge now over the Katarana drama?
I think we're okay. Fuck, where was she? Had a couple other really funny tweets. Where was it? Dieting creates a debt. You may temporarily
Because I'm putting 100%.
You may temporarily shrink the size of your body, but you'll repay that with interest. For one, you'll probably gain all the weight back and then some. But that's no big deal, really. The bigger problems are the strain diets put on your cardiovascular system and on your mental health. In post-Thatcher neoliberalism, capital made more and more of its returns through debt rather than production. Diet culture produces nothing except more dieters.
Maybe you need to start dressing like Hassan so socialists will start agreeing with all your takes.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
Pepe wins.
I thought she had a tweet that said it was impossible to lose weight. Fuck, I can't even find it in this thread reader thing.
Hamza said, $5. Did you watch the ContraPoints vignette, and what do you think about the Delta variant R0?
I mean, the Delta variant is bad, and the, I haven't watched the Contra video yet, no.
Fucking dubstep.
You're a genius, dude!
I take a week or two off from
Oh.
this fuck does meth omega lol bonus meme.
Fat
Pepe
phobia
just
created
won and
diet
there's
culture
nothing you
with the
can do
promise
about
that
it.
fat bodies can be disciplined into thin ones, knowing full well that this is impossible. What? Oh my god. Do you think this is an issue in the online left in general, and that they don't actually want to engage with anyone on the right and are simply willing to write off?
Destiny, hope you have a nice vacation. Please unignore me.
No one is ignored right now. I'm not even at my house.
You're a fucking statistician!
He wins.
Do you think this is an issue in the online left in general, and that they don't actually want to engage with anyone on the right and are simply willing to write off what they say? Yeah, I think so. I think the problem is a lot of people on the left like don't want to engage on a factual level anymore. So it's hard. And this is one of the reasons why I like having conservative friends, is because it forces me to like maintain like some level of like factual attachment to the arguments. And I think people on the left just want to go off into like the stratosphere. They don't care about like what is true or what is real or what is correct anymore. They just want to have like their own like little outrage culture, like all their insanely stupid shit, and that's all they really care about. I say people on the left, but people on the right do it too, of course. Yeah, like all the extremist sides on both ends do it.
Steven.
What a nice number. Bonus meme wowie.
Because I'm putting 100%.
Chat, give Colfish a wowie right now. Go ahead, he deserves a wowie. DGGL.
Alright, hey, what's up?
What's up, my guy? So basically I got this debate. It's a 2-on-2 debate. Myself and Rose Risk versus Lawrence Southern and Counterpoints.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's 3 points. I think BLM, police reform. There's a third point that kind of, I guess, the existence of systemic racism.
Okay.
And I think their main thing is that they feel like systemic racism does exist, but that it's used kind of so flippantly that it almost degrades conversation because we just use it as a catch-all for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I don't even know if I disagree with that point.
Yeah, I don't.
I do think
I think most reasonable people would probably agree with that at this point. Systemic racism is obviously real, for sure. But like when it gets to the point to where like every single interaction is bad, or people are acting like every time you talk to the cops you're gonna get assassinated, or people are saying like every single thing is an example of like racism or crazy shit, like it gets a little bit extreme. I think that's gonna be a really hard point to argue against. You're gonna have to figure out like what is the measure of like too much, basically.
that's it. Because I don't think I really like. Because I agree. I feel like a lot of these things do. I think like homophobic can be overused. I think transphobic can be overused. I think systemic racism can be used.
Oh wait, real quick.
Racist.
You know that I'm streaming, right?
Yes,
okay.
I'm aware.
Sorry. Okay, just making sure. Okay,
yeah. Yeah, but I just think all of these things can be overused. Like pretty like because I've had some people like say if you refuse to date trans people, then you're a transphobe.
Yeah, that wasn't the case, by the way, like 4 or 5 years ago. Because people would always argue against me, eventually it's going to get to this where if you don't date a trans person, people are going to say that you're transphobic. And I would always say, no, of course not. That's not. But nowadays people will actually say that, yeah. They'll say that if you don't date a trans person, or if you're not fully on board with like fucking a woman with a penis, you're transphobic. So yeah, people unironically do say that shit today. It's really fucking disappointing, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think everything goes that way. And I feel like, I don't know, man. I just think it's, I really, it sounds awful, but I think I blame Twitter, right? Like, I think trying to express complex thoughts in like 143 characters causes people to become really like hyperbolic and inflammatory because they're just trying to get out like the sentiment without like any nuance, and so then it just gets further and further like pushed, and people just like really jump on it. And, But anyway, so all right. When it comes to the police reform thing, or yeah, when it comes to police reform, and Black Lives Matter, like I think that those conversations are not completely like distinct from one another in a way. I don't really think I'm a big fan of the organization. I think the organization is kind of weird. They do a lot of nonsense. They've like put a lot of nonsense on the webpage at different points. So I've never been a really big fan of the organization, but I have been a big fan of the movement in general.
Yeah. I would say, by the way, I think it is a fucking crime that those loser fucks tried to make like the BLM website and organization. I think that is so incredibly fucking horrible because like when you talk about BLM, we want to broadly be able to talk about the idea of like, hey, like there are systemic issues with how the criminal justice system associates with black people and how we publicly respond to that. And I think that's a good message. But like when you've got like an organization or whatever that is like some crazy fucking Marxist, like delusional shit that are trying to put out statements, well, now you have to sign on to all of that shit. And so anytime you talk with anybody about BLM, the first thing you have to do is disavow the last 30 fucking crazy tweets that have come from people that say that they're like the head of the BLM organization, which is really irritating.
Absolutely. For sure. And I think they've actually, in my opinion, they've become significantly more problematic than they're helping literally anything. For instance, the George Floyd Justice and Police Act, right? I think that's probably it's one of my favorite like bills I've ever seen in my entire life. But the problem is like BLM fought against that. BLM came up with like a competing bill where their whole idea is where the concept behind it is oh my God, they're just doing so many insane things. Police shouldn't be armed in any capacity. We got to get them to stop using non-lethal weapons as well, like tasers. We have to they want complete dismantling of police force, and they want all drug crimes 100% made legal, and like all of these things that are like, okay, these are pipe dreams, like so far off the distance. Whereas the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act is like really practical. It makes sense. Like I've had a hard time finding people disagreeing with it. I went on these Republican people's podcasts, and I was like, let's go through each one of these. And like 8 out of 10, they were just like, yeah, I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that. And so it's like these are good bills, and then BLM comes along, and they're just like, no, it's not Marxist enough. It's like, what the frick are you even talking about?
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of harmful. So I don't think we have a debate as far as BLM is concerned. I think the organization is trash, but the movement I think is something that's unique. And then, okay, regarding police reform in general, I think are you familiar with the Kerner Commission?
No.
Okay, so like in 1968, they Lyndon B. Johnson, he created this Kerner Commission because of course there was a long hot summer. Everybody was rioting everywhere, and so he like came up with a thing. With a commission to like discover what is the cause of the riots, how do we prevent it from happening, and so on and so forth. And in that, there's like a small Wikipedia page on it. It's not long to read, but long story short, like they came up with like all of these tenets about like what are causing the riots. And for the most part, it was like, economic deprivation, lack of opportunity, the segregation and police brutality. All of these things are what are like these are the main causes, and better social programs and things like that would fix it. This is coming from Johnson's administration, and I guess he kind of just tossed it out like, nah, I don't care about that, and it just kind of like increased policing. So I feel like police reform, I think it's always been a good idea. We've just never gotten any meaningful police reform.
Okay, sure.
I'm hoping you can kind of push back on some of this stuff because
wait, what are you looking for me to push back on, or what do you want?
I don't know, because it's like, all right, well, Lauren Southern is I guess a reformed alt-right.
Okay, here the problem with Lauren Southern is that like, so when I evaluate like arguments and shit, I'm just looking for like what is factually true or factually incorrect. Okay, so she's been involved in a lot of stuff like 5 years ago that I just find abhorrent. I totally disagree with a lot of it. But in terms of like anything I followed closely of her for like her current modern stuff, admittedly, most of the stuff I followed her recently was about the debate with Lance, because that's what we talked the most about. Most of what she says is like pretty factually correct. Like there's not very much like controversial stuff. Now she's made videos recently about like the January 6th stuff. She might have said stuff in there I disagree with. I haven't watched it or reviewed it. But Yeah, I don't know what her like, because it sounds to me like most of her positions, because like when I think about like the genocide thing in Canada, it seemed like even she was willing to subscribe to the idea that at one point in time Canada was probably engaged in like a genocide against the indigenous people, but like people have taken it too far. So it's possible that she'll have the same stance here with the criminal justice stuff, that like, oh yeah, some systemic racism exists, but like people have like stretched this concept too far, and now it's like an unsolvable, intractable problem that exists everywhere, and the only way to get rid of it is to like abolish the police, right? But like if her position is like incredibly moderate, I'm probably going to agree with her and counterpoints, who I think I've talked to as well. I don't disagree with him on much either. I don't think I probably agree with them generally on what they say. And it sounds to me like even you might. So you guys are all going to kind of just agree on everything with like very nuanced, like very minor nitpicks of like, well, maybe this is a little bit worse than the other thing, you know?
Sure. That's so I don't. I guess this is where I expect most conversations to go if we're coming from like a factual standpoint. But I mean, I guess it's Lauren Southern, so I guess my guard's up a little bit. I figured, you know, since she's had some racist takes before, and you know, you're racist, felt like maybe, you know, you might be able to have some insight into her brain work.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen her do like any crazy like mask off, like horrible fuck up shit recently. Not to say that she couldn't, but like, yeah, I would be very careful. Like approach the debate. Like you should approach the debate as though like you need to have like a real conversation and engage with somebody, not just expect that they're gonna like scream like a Nazi or some shit, yeah, or else you're gonna get like fucked, yeah.
Okay, I feel that. Then I guess really, I don't know. I guess I kind of lined up my ducks in that way. I guess my main focus on the police reform thing has been, like I said, the Kerner Commission, and then all of the various Department of Justice pattern or practice investigations into like all of these whatever. So like in Ferguson, they had one that I've like kind of taken a bunch of meaningful excerpts from that. The Chicago one, I've taken some meaningful excerpts from that, and then also the Los Angeles one. Like so that we've been doing that forever, and all of these consent decrees have pretty much resulted in nothing. It really is systemic, according to our Department of Justice, even under Trump's administration, which is I think the one that did the Chicago one, or maybe they did the Ferguson one. During Trump's administration, and they still came out with almost identical like prescriptions. Like, hey, we probably really need some serious accountability. Like that, we can't get around that, and so on and so forth. So I don't really know that there's much to debate against that.
Yeah. So it's going to come from more extreme sides. The problem is that like Connor and Lauren are probably geared up to argue. About like the more extreme measures that have been taken. So like. I haven't looked into this that much. I think I only read like 2 articles on this, so maybe they exaggerated. But like my understanding is that like 2 years ago, I think a bunch of cities started rolling back their police budgets and shit, and that crime started rising in almost all of these areas, and they've basically undone and like increased the budget even more than what it was before in almost all of those areas. That's my understanding. I don't know if that maps on completely factually correct, but that's my understanding. Nobody's ever said I was wrong about that. So that's my current understanding of that. That's probably what they're going to be attacking. It's like, look, you guys tried to defund the police, it didn't work, so your ideas are bad. It's going to be that. But if you start off with well, I don't agree with defunding the police, then that means that both positions are probably a little bit more moderate than where the actual debate is online, which is the very far left versus the very far right.
Sure. So I guess maybe I'm not a big I guess I've kind of embraced the idea of defunding the police in theory, like the idea of like putting in better programs and things, social programs and things like that in place of police. But I don't think that they need to happen in that order. Like, I don't think we defund and then create the programs. I think we need to really, create some deficit or something where we're creating these social programs that should be helpful, and then start using the police budget, portions of the police budget on those things, like on crime prevention, like programs and crime preventative measures, as opposed to doing it in this way. Because as things stand right now, there's this expectation that people kind of have about like interacting with the police and things like that. If you send out a signal that there's going to be less police, there are plenty of like criminal elements that will decide, well, if there's going to be less police, then I can be a little bit more loose with the amount of crime that I'm doing, and so on and so forth. Because the existence of police is a deterrent. And the way things function right now, for some people, their only way of like attaining like economic prosperity, not the only way, but the way people choose to, the way that's culturally relative for them, is sometimes like the criminogenic way. And so then, if that's the case, then to remove the police, kind of, it just feels like, okay, well, yeah, I'm just going to go fully in that. I even have less less disincentives than going to
Yeah,
prison.
it really sucks because when it comes to police stuff, and it's irritating because I feel like I said exactly this like 2 or 3 years ago. Most of the online conversation has to be walking back the insanely, extremely far left rhetoric that was like pervasive, both online and in the real world, like in the last election cycle, which is so fucking annoying. But
yeah, that's BLM though. They did that.
Well, BLM,
the organization,
yeah,
not the movement.
Not the movement, yeah. So yeah, that's
yeah,
just really
that's
annoying.
been their thing. When people were talking about defund the police, and the way I first encountered it, it was about like, yeah, man, we could use like social workers when it comes to domestic disputes, and we should have drug programs when it comes to like drug things that are not violent, and so on and so forth. We should be working on mental health things, and when there's like mental health things, which constitute the vast majority of like homeless people, we should be using these social workers and mental health workers for these kind of things. And I'm like, that sounds great.
Just to be really clear, I don't know if you guys are gonna get in the weeds on that. I'm telling you, we can have a long conversation if you want, but I'm telling you that Connor, as somebody that has police experience, and as somebody that I personally have had experience with crazy people, you absolutely need to send an armed police officer to every one of those. Anything where you'd have to send a social health worker, you need to send a police officer to. It has to happen, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, if it gets violent, you need somebody there that has like the authority to act and is going to take on the liability of fucking up. And a social worker cannot. Like, you're not going to send, Samantha PhD, the social worker, out to talk to some guy that has a knife and is having like a fucking borderline, like breakdown. Yeah, but
for sure.
So be careful about getting to that. Yeah, but you're going.
Yeah, that's the way it kind of works, even when it comes to like children, right? So my mother was a social worker for so many years before she did the clinical psychology thing, and for her, like she'd be going into these people's homes and like doing counseling with children and parents and family. And sometimes those situations can get pretty chaotic. There have been times where she's had to have the police there.
Yeah.
And I think like having a police on standby is fine, but typically the way they do it in those situations is when you recognize like this is a violent home where things tend to be chaotic, such that you need an escort. The police goes there with you, but then the social worker is still the authority in the situation. They're kind of functioning and leading everything. But if things get out of hand, you got to have a police officer there, and I think that's amazing. I don't know why we wouldn't do that. But I think as it stands now, we typically send the police officers without any mental health, whatever. And they're not trained for this.
For sure.
There's no way they're going to be understanding.
Their training is basically subdue with force and then bring them in. Yeah, it's not like optimal.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Exactly. No de-escalation almost at all, which is found in almost all of the DOJ reports. But because at this point now, when I first encountered that, BLM then started moving the conversation to abolish the police. And I was like, no one's actually saying that. That's not what defund means. There's no abolish. And so I'm arguing with people, and then I Google it, and I find all of these different organizations and articles mentioning why abolishing the police works. And I'm like, wait, no, this isn't. And so then it sucks because what could have been a productive conversation about reallocating funds in specific ways and a decent plan to do so instead just became a debate about the far left thing, right? Like of abolish. And we can't even have a real conversation anymore because now these people are up in arms and their bias kicks in. So the second you say anything about defunding, they hear abolish, even if you don't say it, and it's over. You can't move forward. So I think maybe I might just abandon defund in any capacity and just be on board with the. I don't know, because I feel like it's just unproductive in this kind
It's
of.
It's indefensible, yeah. But it's going to make you look like you're agreeing with the conservatives and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of rough. I don't know.
Yeah, the very far left kind of like fucked that whole conversation for like moderate left leaning people. Unfortunately, like for every part of the United States. So yeah, good luck.
They do that with everything, though. Didn't they do that with healthcare too? Wasn't like like the idea of universal healthcare, like the idea that was
basically like anything less than Medicare for all makes you like a literal fucking Nazi Martian piece of shit. Like out of the it's just unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing Vosh say one time his whole thing was it was like, yeah, we have to get rid of like the ability for paid insurance, because if we leave that, then it'll always be this glaring comparison between like the people who are paying for insurance and the people who are getting the free insurance. And so if we do so we have to get rid of that. And it's like, well, what's the problem with having this thing for us to be able to compare and set a mark to?
Yeah.
This is where this thing needs to be. But like, and then when you say that to people who actually have the means of healthcare, and then they start thinking and considering, well, like public education is completely boo-boo compared to like private education. Maybe like I don't know. It starts getting really, really scary. Whereas we could have gotten it if it had been just like a focus on, hey, let's just like super duper expand Medicare, but instead it's like no, we have to abolish private insurance and rewrite the whole thing, and it's just
I also think you kind of kneecap yourself when you start saying shit like, we can't have any private care, because what if private and public are available and people see how much better the private is? And it's like, wait, hold on, I thought you said the public care was going to be really good though. What do you mean? Like, yeah, I guess really weird. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that's the most of it. I think just not getting into that. I don't know. Yeah, I'll find a way of. Because again, I do think the defunding, or I don't even like the phrase defunding. I think it's so bad optically. I think more just reallocating specific funds towards comparable programs is a better way. But I guess they just went for the quick grab of defund. So I guess where I have to push to make sure that it stays there and that we're not addressing abolish in any capacity. Because I think that I don't mind agreeing with conservatives at all and just saying 100% abolish the police is the stupidest idea that's ever been created by BLM. Okay, I want to touch on something else really quickly, if you don't mind. The Dylan Burns situation. Do you feel that his apology was genuine? Do you feel like he actually owned up to like any of the things that he did in that conversation, like that in that stream and just in that whole situation?
I'm gonna give you a really unsatisfactory answer here, and nobody likes this. I take L's. Everybody hates this. I just don't care about like apologies. I don't care.
You don't think accountability matters at all in these kind of circumstances?
I don't care. As long as they don't do dumb shit again. I don't care.
Okay, so here's where my problem comes. I feel like he will do dumb stuff. Now, maybe not him, but I feel like the next person will do something stupid and come out with these things. Like when in 2020, the FGC had like this crazy renaissance of like sexual assault allegations, where like everything came out. Mr. Wizard, like one of the literal leaders of Evo, like they had video evidence of him like having little boys like swim in freaking fountains, and it was just nonsense. And so then he got like ousted. Then you had all of these other organizers and players where there's like, just in Smash in particular, there was some grown woman that was like molesting some 14-year-old boy. It just went crazy, right? And so like all these stories came out, some of them having like actual evidence. We had stuff on stream, like it was like, whoa, this is crazy. So that happened. While that happened, you had these people that came forward. I remember one of these stories, it was against this guy named Anti. And girl says like, oh man, me and my friends were gonna train. We were going to go out at Evo, and so everyone wanted to get ready. Auntie went up to his room to get ready, and I went with him. When he took a shower, he came out in a towel, and he sat next to me, and he put his hand on my thigh. And I realized he had the wrong idea. So I stood up like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go down with the rest of them. And he says, hey, you should give me a kiss before you go. And so she said, okay. And she went over there and she kissed him on the cheek, and then she went into the elevator and she, cried. And when you have these stories of like literal molestations, you have these stories of literal molestations and literal like sexual assaults, like actual rape. And then you have this story of like, he tried to make a move and he put his hand on my thigh and asked me for a kiss. And you're putting that next to it. It like degrades like the quality of like what's
I think the problem is that like we have this binary of like rape or not rape. And if you say not rape, people say that you're not taking it seriously enough. So everything gets qualified as like assault or sexual harassment or like crazy shit like that. I just think we have really unhealthy conversations about everything because all of our language is like all like factored like it's all through the paradigm of like abuse. Like what is abuse? I've said this before. Like you can't have a bad interaction anymore. Like you can't have a bad date or a bad sexual encounter. Now it was like an abusive or manipulative date or like an aggressive or assaulting sexual encounter. Like there is no more like, yeah. So it sucks, but that's just where the conversations are. I push back on it as much as I can. That's why as soon as I saw the Prime Kai stuff, and it was some shit where it's like, oh yeah, like we talked for 10 fucking years, but I didn't want to say anything. And he said I had a nice ass. So it was just, and I was like, oh, give me a fucking break. Like, yeah, when I see shit like that, like I have to say something because it's so fucking stupid. But that's just where we are today. That's where the conversation is, unfortunately. I wish I had something better to say, but it sucks.
You don't think, so it seems like now with all the evidence coming out, everybody having all the information, like Dylan literally intentionally wrote that twit longer. It was his writing.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like
yeah, they said they worked on it for a while.
He edited everything. Yeah, it was him. He had literally access to every single text message by Katarana and went through them. He was the one that came up with all of the screenshots, or like the vast majority of the screenshots. So this was clearly a takedown attempt. He says that they weren't competition in whatever, but now we know that he was actually upset as he admitted.
Here, this is okay. Yeah, this is going to be like I'm 32 now. You don't have to agree or disagree. I'm just gonna say this. So I've had like a lot of like life encounters with people. This is going to be something that I generally operate off of, and I need a lot to move me off of this. In my personal opinion, it is incredibly rare that somebody is acting in a way that is actually intentionally malicious and damaging towards somebody. That is exceedingly rare. It is less than 1% of all scenarios will be a person actually acting like that. Almost every time there's going to be like another explanation. So I can think of like 5 other explanations that like are maybe more probable than that. Like maybe he just really liked Katarana and wanted to simp for her, or you know, maybe he heard this happening and it was just kind of convenient and he's like, okay, well fuck it, like we'll expose Prime and fuck that or whatever. But like any type of like actual long-term planning to take out another person, like a planned takedown, that is so incredibly rare. Most humans don't have the capacity for that type of like ultra hateful activity. It just is not something that is built into most people, I think.
It doesn't have to be ultra hateful. It could just be ultra opportunistic, right?
There might have been like a little bit of like opportunistic stuff, but like I would just caution against thinking people are like super hateful, malicious, evil like that, because that's a really tall order for most people to do something like that.
Sure. So, like, I don't think that this is like, oh, this is some 5-month plan or anything like that. I don't even think it's crazy. It's really simple. I think I heard she's making these claims of sexual whatever. This is my rival. So then it's like, if I take him out, 1, I gain all of these points for my girlfriend. 2, I gain all of these points just from the public for like making the accusation, for making it public for taking down a predator. And just the very accusation itself is going to gather so much attention.
Yeah,
so
for
like,
sure. Like all that might be true. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So opportunistic, I would say maybe. Yeah, sure.
Sure. And so do you, I guess maybe I have a misunderstanding of the word malicious, but the word is not important. He has had animus towards Prime this entire time, correct? Like we know this now.
I can't say that for sure, but it's based on what I've heard in the background and how I see it, it kind of looks like that. Yeah, I would assume that.
Yeah, he literally admitted in that one conversation, that weird one, where he's like, "Yeah, I was mad that Prime got it because I felt like we had similar metrics, so I didn't understand why he."
Yeah, although you got to be really careful with the things like that, because like that's pretty normal. Like if you're streaming between like like people are gonna be like now, like because people are taking some of those things Prime said. I don't remember who was messaging in the background. He's like, I think that Dylan is racist because he said something like Prime only got it because he's black or whatever. Like people go like really crazy off into that shit. I just think like if you're streaming and you guys are like fighting for partnership and one guy gets it and you don't, it's pretty normal that somebody's going to be a little bit salty. Like, well, why the fuck did that guy get partner, right? I don't think that's like the worst thing in the world. Yeah.
I don't. And again, I think for a lot of these things, it's not even about because we're competitive people in general. I would imagine most people are. Well, I don't know. I'm hyper competitive. So I would imagine in that scenario, like, yes, if you see someone else doing something and you're both like striving for the same thing, I could imagine you both being like, competitive in the sense of like, oh, I want it just as much as they want it. That's not enough. But it's when you put all of these things together, right? And this isn't like a Gish Gallop kind of thing. It's more about like a framing thing. It's the same thing that happens like in a courtroom where you're like trying to establish like
having a lot of different points to build something isn't always a Gish Gallop. Of course not. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Right. And so I think in this scenario, so there's so much evidence that pushes back against the idea that he wasn't particularly that he wasn't competition. We've also seen like since this apology has happened and he's like walked back to his claims, every time during Prime's panels, Dylan happens to be streaming. But on the day during the panel, which he doesn't have anymore, the Amazon Lily, during that time he's not streaming. But he is streaming during the same time that Prime is streaming. There is a competition here. I think it's a little ridiculous that someone can try to take down someone's entire career, like literally try to end his livelihood with all these accusations, some of which are like literally lying about, literally lying. And then afterwards, we just kind of move on like, oh, it's kind of fine. I guess nothing happened of it. How does that not encourage more bad actors? And how does that not there's
I think it's personally really fucked up. I do think it's fucked up, but that's for other people to decide on what they want to do. The way that I interact with everybody in this space is if anybody that has enough to take me down, I could end their online career as well. So I treat everybody as a liability and an asset simultaneously, and I try to balance that out. And I try to conduct myself in a way that there's not going to be any individual that can come out and end me without them getting ended to, or it's not going to be worth it for them. I think everybody should conduct themselves in that manner. I would say everybody should. Maybe that sounds a little victim blamey, but I would encourage everybody to act in that manner. I think what Dylan did was pretty fucked up. I don't disagree, but I'm not like super concerned with like also like counter canceling people or like fucking people. I just don't care that much about it.
Do you think that he should be like there should be some sort of restitution paid to Prime now that he's lost literally a panel permanently? Dylan made a lot of money off of these false accusations.
Like reparations. No.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Man, I don't know. Maybe, but like I'm not like super invested in that conversation. That would be like a thing for Prime to figure out, I guess. What I try to do is I try to imagine if I was in this situation where, but the thing is people have tried to do it to me so much and I never get any restitutions. I don't know. Cause like people are like, dude, I've had so many people call me a rapist the past like week or two. It's like blowing my fucking mind. But I don't know. You just have to keep trekking forward. Fuck it. Like nobody's going to do anything for you. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've had everyone calling me a racist recently.
Besides me?
Started with you though. Yeah, no, it's all of DGG. Like and there's a thread made because someone put up a video and I was like kind of referencing.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and they said, "Oh, isn't this the guy that defended Cosby?"
yeah. And they said they talked about Cosby and then they talked about me wanting a black, a black queen. I use that phrase on purpose just to be inflammatory. Me wanting a black wife. And I kind of I explained it to someone in the comments, and he kind of accepted it. And I think like phrasing it in that way like makes it a lot more sense. Makes it make a lot more sense, right? Because it's not about like an intrinsic racial value. It's more about an environmental racial value. Like
sure. I don't want to like relitigate the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I don't hate you.
I got you. Just
Yeah,
no, but I just need you to walk back that racist claim, bro.
I feel like you're kind of racist. I just don't care that much. But I don't care that much. It's not like a deal breaker for me. It's whatever. I don't know. Maybe we'll have more conversations in the future. Maybe my opinion will morph and evolve. We'll see.
I think it will. It's gonna have to happen. Are you back in the States yet?
No, I'm in Stockholm right now.
Oh wow. When do you come back?
I don't know. Probably end of this month. Next month. Fuck. We'll see.
Okay. All right, when you come back, we're going to do the music stream. Your stream has been asking for it for quite some time.
We're going to do it,
We'll drive out there.
All right.
I'm dead serious. I'll drive wherever you are, and we'll do the music stream.
Okay. I love you. Stay safe. Be careful, bud.
All right, man. Peace out.
Bye. What? What do you want?
I was just listening.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's the Cosby guy, dude. He's famous in DGG.
Okay.
Can't see in one. They'll watch that.
Oh man, how is Booksmarts and Lauren going, guys? Oh man. Oh, where's Nick? We need to bring him on. Fuck.
Oh, have you seen he's been in the trenches?
Yeah, I know. I just want to make sure that he
trenches
understands.
right
I hope that we can be mature enough to get to a point to where like I like you and Nick a lot. I don't have anything against any of you. It's fun playing with you.
I don't think he thinks that you're mad.
Okay, that's good. Because like
don't think he does.
Tyrael will get to a point where he fucking hates the way that both of you are acting. But I don't hate either of you. I'm totally cool with both of you.
You don't care.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure, okay. So like my thought process is that like Tyrael really is like the only thing that Tyrael cares about right now is his family's name.
And image.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've like made a really important connection with those monks, right?
True.
And my thought process is they're going to do a big investigation to figure out like where those glasses, because we asked them to do that. And they're going to go to some village and found out that we showed up, murdered like a priest.
Shot their priest.
And then terrorized a village and then dug up a body and stole the glasses. And that just looks really bad.
And threw him a few hundred platinum. That was it, yeah.
And then it also kind of annoys me because it's like, I think we had a very good reason to be there. Like, we are friends with the monks there, okay? It's like, it's an old body. Nobody has an attachment to this body anymore. And I don't know why Nick fucking lied. I don't know why he fucking lied about it. Like, especially for a story.
He said he lied because usually when he tells the truth, we get mad at him. Yeah, like his character, right?
I
so
guess.
like when he told the So that's his in-character reason for lying. Because we've like, anytime he tells too much, he always gets in trouble. So now he's like, all right, I'm going to lie.
Because I think we could have told the truth here, and I think it would have been okay, especially because we're friends, because we could have flexed our connections with, like, we're friends with the monks to the northeast, right? Like, and we can give you guys, we can shower you. Can you imagine what, like, 50 platinum is to that city? That's more wealth than all of them combined. right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Nick should have probably opened the bag and showed him what was in it.
Yeah, for sure.
The dumb fuck probably thought it was like 2 bags of copper. But yeah.
I don't want to jump into the trenches because I don't care, but I think one of the comments was like, I'm really irritated that Tyrell's doing this because he would never act this way otherwise. I let that girl...
I have an example. I was about to say the one girl that...
literally stole my fucking +5 sword and I didn't fucking cut her down in the street and I could have, right? Yeah, I'm trying to be like very big on like the family name is everything and that's what I care about. Oh, and then somebody's like, oh, and they're so obsessed with investigating the Queen's matters. I don't care about that. I just want to make sure we're not going to get fucking killed. Because if the Queen is killing everybody around her, I don't want to be the one that goes next. Or Tyrael doesn't want to be, you know? Yeah.
For our family name, I don't think anything we do in Akuba is bad. I think, honest to God, we could have literally murdered that entire town. It could have got back to Drekas, and because of like the racism and the hate, they would have been like, "Oh, okay, good. You like killed those Akuban dogs." Like it might even be like a positive.
Back there, it might be, but Akuba is like relatively neutralish in the war, aren't they? Or they hate us, but like they're not like. Are they actively participating?
They're having a big civil war with themselves right
now. So like it's just like imagine that like as we're finishing the war, right? We said that it was a really cool thing that we brought the is it the halflings southeast of the Draken Ridge or southwest of the Draken Ridge that we brought them back into the fold. Like imagine as the war comes to a close that like half the continent of Akuba has like a really good impression of like a Drakissian noble family, like the Megaris. Like we're really cool with the monks.
That, like we could do like nation building.
Yeah, and that would be like, and we would be. Now. Well, I mean, maybe I don't know. But, like, I'm just saying, like, that would be really cool that we would, like, solo be responsible for bringing, like, potentially, like, part of a continent almost into our fold, or we would have that reputation. So that's what Tyrael is thinking in terms of, like, family name and everything, you know?
No, Tyrael being upset makes 1,000% sense. But I also think that Imrik just acting and killing immediately also kind of makes sense.
Well, the way that he explained it in the Reddit thread afterwards, 100%. Now, personally, I think he came up with that reason afterwards, because if he would have said that in-game to me, I would have cooled off immediately. Tyrael would have cooled off. If he would have said some shit like, bro, like, somebody tried to stab me in the fucking street. I don't know if this is a Scoria spy. I'm paranoid as fuck. I would have been like...
I could be wrong, but I feel like... I thought he did say that, like, that.
Did he get? He might have gotten to that eventually, but
I'm pretty sure he got into that in the game. But yeah.
He might have gotten there, but dude, he assassinated that fucking.
Yeah, if it was a score, like
he like magic missile that dude for like 30 damage and like exploded his fucking body. I'm like, bro. Yeah.
To be fair, it could have been a Scoria spy due to the fact that they know all of the items that we have. They probably know kind of what we're looking for. It wouldn't make it would make sense if Scoria would implement someone inside of a fucking city to like wait for us.
Maybe, yeah.
It could happen. If we can find it on Time Pool, they can.
Potentially, yeah. Time Pool is really broken. I don't know. That should be like a 2% spell or something, yeah.
I mean, I agree, but Koibu's taking a lot from Cleric already with like the resurrection and shit, so you know, fuck.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck.
But once you get Time Pool, you literally have the answers to every
question.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I really want to track down that Senegal bitch.
Yeah, we can track her down. We gotta. I think we said that we were gonna do the Black Dragon and then her.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
I think that there's no reason not to track her down. It seems like I don't want to kill her. I think it'd be a good trading partner. It seems like
I don't think Koibu's gonna fuck us. We're gonna have to kill her.
You think so?
Because if we had access to her as a trading partner, this is like the best black market like trading person of the like. She'll have more.
But that's what she is, right?
Maybe like she might have more magical items than us.
Probably, yeah. If she's trading with dragons, she's above us, right?
Do you think? Here's a question. I'm so curious what Koibu retcons. Do you think that if I would have walked right before that room, if I would have activated my Ring of Seeing and looked around, do you think Justina still would have been there?
I genuinely don't know. I know in the future that I'm going to say Anton looks up.
Sure. Well, you have to look up with a ring of do you have True Sight now?
She wasn't even invisible.
She had to have been, absolutely.
If she was invisible, I don't think we see her through the Time Pool. Right?
She must have been invisible.
I don't know.
That's so risky of Koibu otherwise, no? For her to not be invisible? We would see her like walking down a hall or something, right?
She was like a spider above us.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah, I'm not sure.
I feel like I feel like both of the glasses are kind of shit. I feel like he got kind of cocked.
The second glasses are way better than the first one.
A little bit, but like
feel better.
2 feet away. I mean, I guess
2 feet away is pretty trash. Yeah, I agree with that. But being able to read any higher level scroll is
That's cool.
We no longer need to worry if our wish scroll is going to work.
Yeah, that's true.
And he can read any language.
Yeah, that's, I guess, can come in handy.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is it wise to text her in her lair? I think you have to kill her.
We have to do it in the lair, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're ever going to get the Justina person. That's going to be really hard.
I think I genuinely think that Scoria is probably going to fucking kill her.
I don't think so. That'd be funny, though, but...
My guess is that Scoria's going to kill her, and then my amulet's going to no longer be able to do that anymore, because I didn't get vengeance. That's my guess.
Ooh, that would be interesting as a way
and
for
then
Koibu to cuck you.
Fucks the amulet. Yeah. Which I would be fine with. I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had time to do it. We chose not to. That's my guess. I just don't know how the dungeon crawl is going to ever work to Scoria's lair.
Yeah, who knows? Okay, I need to listen to
Yeah, do you think?
this debate.
Not going to. I am trying to portray my views in a reasonable, palatable way for people. I am trying my best. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want to listen to you, they're not going to. So I can do everything I want to. And if someone in the far corners of the alt-right wants to be like, Lauren, I refuse to see these people as human. They are literally barbarian savages that just want to kill all people. I can say as much as I want, and I'll put it out there. And if they don't want to listen to me, they're not going to listen to me. That goes.
Sorry, one more thing. Here's an ultra hot take. I feel so bad for this, but do you think that Koibu originally had our mom like suffering with dementia, and then he found out about my mom, and he decided to wreck on all of that? Or do you think he had a whole plan initially?
I think he probably had like some semblance of a plan initially.
Do you think? I wonder, because he sent me a personal apology, which makes me wonder, like, oh shit.
Well,
like,
that makes me wonder now. Yeah, like maybe. Maybe he was just trying to do like, some people get old. Like,
some people get old and you get Alzheimer's, and then he's like, oh wait, this is actually really fucked up. Yeah, I kind of wonder. I don't know. I think that's pretty funny. Okay, back to this.
So neither should you.
Hold on 1 second.
Neither should other creators on the platform. Like, hey, ContraPoints. Why are there still alt-righters? Why didn't you convince them all to stop being alt-right with your videos? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a ridiculous standard to hold someone to.
Sure, but that's not what I'm getting at here. So in part, we're talking about you said a lot of things in the past that were very much so in line with some of the people that you were then unable to convince out of that with this video, with this documentary, right?
No. What thing did I say that you are the most offended by that I've said in my immigration videos in the past? Like, what upset you the most? Like, let's deal with the particular
Can we focus on like this line?
Because I need to know what you keep just talking about a general. Like, you said things. What things did I say? Like, I want to address it. I want to let's see particularly what point I put out there that I haven't, worked to change people's minds on. That was a horrific point that has caused a lot of damage in the world. Like, what point is that?
If you don't, if you can't think of any point, then I'll move off of this because I don't think we're going to make progress on this.
You should. No. You should have to say what, because you can't just speak in these generalities. You did bad thing. You said bad thing. Like, do you know? This is why I get so frustrated talking to people who want to criticize my past. Is they actually know fucking nothing about me or my past so often.
I do. I had to do a lot of research before this.
They just know Lauren bad. Okay, well then give me a quote, man. A single quote that you think is
we're gonna move off
about
of this.
immigration.
That's totally fine.
No, give me a single quote on immigration that I said that you think contributed badly to the world. I'm not saying that I probably haven't done it, but I want to know if you actually know or if you're just doing this Lauren bad thing.
No, I do know Lauren. I'm going to stop because then we will continue with this. And I don't want to argue with you about these things. So I'm going to present criticisms. I'm going to walk as far as I can with you. But the moment we hit a wall like that, I'm going to move off of it because I have tons of other stuff.
Because I am convinced. I hope I'm wrong.
It's a wall for me.
I hope I'm wrong, but you said you've done a lot of research on me. So you should be able to, if I'm as bad or...
I've done enough to know how this goes. I've done enough to know how this goes. And that's not where I want to go.
Okay, so how does this go?
So we're going to get in a long, heated exchange about some particular quote rather than talking about the broad general thing that I'm trying to bring your attention to. And you won't let me talk about the broad general thing because you want to go into a specific thing that you can defend, that you could fight against, that we're going to get caught up in. And that's not the conversation that I want to have.
No, but this is the problem is people say Lauren bad, everything she did before, Lauren bad. And then most of the time, that opinion is just derived from the general consensus that I'm bad and not actually anything I've said or done. Can you see the problem there?
I understand that. I know that. I can empathize with that. That's not what I'm trying to do here, and that's not what I'm doing. So if that's where you think I'm going with it, then we don't have to continue on this one.
Well, like people in the audience they're like, okay, like if she's as bad or was as bad as he's saying, like he should be able to give a point. Specific horrific point that she said. And like, can you see how that's really frustrating for me? Yeah. Because I don't want to just accept the premise that Lauren bad for the past 6 years.
If you don't think that you said negative things about immigration, if you don't think that you've said really negative things about immigration, or you think that I should,
what is the negative thing I said?
Or you
think,
think
dude, this is not a hard question.
Okay, well, we're gonna move on because we spent a lot of time on this, Lauren.
No, dude, what videos? Okay, what videos have you watched? What of my videos have you watched on immigration in the past?
I'm not going to give you another step in that direction, Lauren. I have to be responsible with you.
I don't want
I didn't want to argue with
No.
you. I promised I wouldn't debate you. We've gone too far.
How am I supposed to know? Why would we keep going with you questioning about my life when you're making it appear as though you have done no research on it? Like, why should I let someone do an inquisition on whether I'm a good or a bad person, or I'm approaching the world from a good or a bad way if
I didn't
he
say
knows
good or
nothing
bad
about my past?
I didn't say good or bad. I said you had negative opinions about immigration. You thought negatively about immigration. So hold on.
I said about immigration.
Hold on,
because you're already
Lauren.
starting on a false
Now you're
premise.
looping. So Lauren, I have a whole section of this where I have a ton of quotes from 2 of your videos. So if you want to have a conversation where we only work off of quotes, I think this would be a better one to have. So like, I'm trying to be empathetic here. Like if you want that kind of thing, I have that prep. So we could go to that if you want. And that might be more fruitful than the immigrant thing, because I've watched you debate people about this before.
Okay, so can I just at least reframe the premise? I've never disagreed with immigration. And this is already what's pissing me off, is in the past, I know for a fact, I've never disagreed with immigration.
What about illegal immigration?
Absolutely. I've had massive problems with illegal immigration. So if you want to, and I am far from the only one, almost every institution in the world, every government in the world, most people in the world are against illegal immigration, and to portray it as this like, oh my gosh, those horrific views she has when they're very normal and tend to exist to have a functioning state. Like, yes, I have a problem with that portrayal. Like, how dare you say these things? You had negative opinions of illegal immigration in the past. Okay, why is that an inherently bad thing?
I didn't say it was an inherently bad thing. I don't believe that.
The way you are portraying it. The way you are portraying, like, do you feel guilty? I think the chat, I mean, well, maybe I'm getting that wrong, but I do think the way that you're portraying this is an inquisition about comments I've made on illegal immigration in my past being wrong. And so I do need, because I do not to this day believe that criticizing illegal immigration is a bad thing, I do need to understand what those comments were. There are probably things you can point to that I've said in the past that I would disagree with today, but speaking on it on a general level, I'm not going to be able to go and be like, yes, that's bad. I'd have to see specific points that I made, to be like, okay, I've changed my perspective on that, right? So it is difficult to have this on a general, broad conversation.
Yeah, and to just give my final little parting thing on this before we move to like quoted stuff, which I think you'll enjoy more. Remember that when we were talking at the very beginning, you were frustrated with like, I put out this documentary, I put a lot of hard work into this, put a lot of time into this. It said things that like would totally go against what the criticisms of me are, and people didn't watch it. People refused to watch it. It didn't work to change people's perception of me. And
a lot of people did watch it.
Yeah, sure. But that wasn't the point you were making. The point you were making was like, yeah, it's still got 1 million views, but it's not impacting these people who like don't want to listen, or these people who have these negative opinions, right? That's where the conversation was. And that's why I was going to like, well, there were other bits of content you've put out, other things that you've done. And those are the things that people are using to kind of put together the pieces about this thing. And that this one documentary isn't going to be able to put that fire out. But you know, I understand that if I was meant to sit here and go point by point with you, if I was meant to sit here and debate you, if I was to criticize your positions as wrong and I had some alternative to offer, then it would be totally reasonable to expect the quotes and to go back and forth on it. But that's just not the conversation that I want to do with you, because I don't want to argue with you about stuff. So if you don't feel like that's an accurate framing or that's not in line with reality, we can move on to the other stuff.
Okay, so I understand what you're trying to do, and I apologize for trying to drag you into a conversation you didn't want to have, and an approach you didn't want to take or get into. But yeah, that's the problem there is in order to continue having parts of the problem or parts of the conversation you want to have, I have to accept a premise I inherently disagree with. So we can't continue down that route, right?
Yeah. And that was something Steven mentioned to me. Like, oftentimes it's difficult for you to accept or process the criticisms that are levied against you because people aren't able to provide quotes to you or specific things to you. And where they're starting from is something that is like completely off. Like, you're never going to be able to agree to it because it's something that's not true. It's not supported by facts. And this gets back to something we talked at the very beginning. In some advice I would have is like, you often have to like, be the bigger person and steelman that, as shitty as that sounds. Some of these people don't deserve it, but others might, where you have to like look deeper into that, be critical of it, of like your own first like impression of it, and look deeper as to like, where is this coming?
Okay, should I listen from this point or should we go back to the beginning? What do you think?
Smarts be referring to here, because if you did that, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have like had such like a big heated exchange too, because you probably would have realized where I was going with it. But you know,
can I address that quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I understand as a public figure that is my responsibility to try to understand people, to try to listen to people, even if they're being unreasonable. But if you do consider that from a slightly different perspective, you have to steelman the gaslighting about you. You know, that would be the most insane advice to give someone in an abusive relationship, for example. You know, their partner is telling them
this is kind of what I was telling
evil,
about.
They're a piece of shit, and the therapist is like, listen, you have to steelman that. Think about where you could be a piece of shit.
How can you extract criticism from people that are so toxic?
Think about where you cheated when they didn't cheat. Like, could you have possibly cheated on your partner? They keep telling you cheated on them. I know you didn't, but could you steelman? Like, that's insanity driving for someone, especially when they deal with it 24/7. And I've seen this happen with Destiny with it 24/7. And I've human reaction. This is why he like just gets pissed off. He's like, these fucking people. It's like, you guys act like idiots. You know, they call him names. They call him racist when he's so obviously done so much to combat the far right. Like, one of our biggest debates is him. Quite frankly, he won that debate on immigration with me, right? And he still gets these accusations. And at what point does a creator have to accept the gaslighting for the sake of making the piece? And at what point are they allowed to have a human reaction and be like, a human and a rational reaction and be like, no.
So
no.
We like, I promise this will be the last thing, because we will keep going back and forth for forever. If somebody's in an abusive relationship, definitely that's not the advice to them, right? If they have somebody in the relationship who is gaslighting them, most certainly not the advice for them. But like,
okay, hold on. Okay, so as I said before, if you guys want to bring up stuff that's true or false, like, bring it up. But like, you guys are delusional. Sometimes, like, so this guy, I love Barass. She's going to invoke Destiny's name so much to win points with this community. Do you really think that's the thought process? Like, bro, you guys, some of you guys are like insanely, obsessively like delusional. Holy shit. All right, I'm gonna go back to the beginning and listen, okay?
This cult-like fear of me. Cult-like fear of me. I've amassed this identity from the Twitch community as this neo-Nazi queen that must be vanquished by people. And it's just very funny to me because I'm like sitting in my pajamas eating nachos and taking care of my 1-year-old while people think I'm plotting to destroy the planet.
Like, I don't know. I was talking to him because it's more so audience like management. Like, I understand how people like view you, and I understand how people think about you. And what's really difficult is to do what I want to do in this conversation while at the same time appeasing people that want it to be something else.
But do those people deserve to be appeased? Or are you just appeasing toxic members of your own side the same way that people criticize me for having appeased perhaps toxic members of my side?
Well, Well, this is the difficult thing is like I don't do sides and stuff because normally all that I do is like review these conversations. I never ever talk about politics on the channel. I never advocate for anything. I don't really talk about policy ever. So like these are people that are completely not a part of my community. They don't really understand what I do on the channel. And I think that's part of the frustration from my end is like I've like said that Rob Noor is a good debater. I've said you're a good debater. I've said that Milo Yiannopoulos when he's on his game is a scary person to debate, right? Like I can talk about people who are strong debaters independent of whatever ideology they support. And like I can say Vosh is a good debater even if I think his ideology can be wonky, right? Like to give one lefterly example. And so like the difficult thing is when I do something like this and you make it difficult because you're doing some kind of like rebranding tour or something. Could you like explain to me what that's what they say?
Everyone is like, Lauren is trying to be a centrist now. She's trying to portray herself as a liberal. I've never said any of that. The only time I have used the word centrist is to say I am not one. We need to reference J-Rig on that one. Centricide, my friends. Like the people invent these narratives in their head about these insidious motivations I have. They're like, this is Lauren Mask on. She's trying to present herself as a liberal symbol. And I'm like, I will literally say in a stream that, hey, I'm a conservative. And they still think this is like some big rebranding tour. When I came back to media, I said I didn't want to be a part of any circles. Like I am a conservative that doesn't want to be a part of like the mega group, or I am in the right wing and I constantly affirm the right wing because that's my group, that's my cult. So I'm a conservative, but if I'm proven wrong on something, I'm willing to change my opinion. If someone is a left-winger that I happen to agree with or think is intelligent and has good analysis, I'm going to do that. Whereas I can definitely see when I was in these groups in 2016, there are some of these cult-like dynamics where it's like, whoa, you spoke to a lefty and treated them like a human. That is unacceptable. And that's just some people. That's not everyone. And everyone would even have these chat groups where people would just post their tweets and they're like, you have to retweet it because we're part of the same group that just repeatedly, share each other's content. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be that. I want to be my own entity with my own ideas. I am conservative. And also in my documentaries, I do not think, and videos, I do not think I have to misrepresent left-wing viewpoints. I don't think I have to make them a comical version of themselves in order for my own viewpoints to prevail. Because if I felt the need to only observe leftist views from a comical perspective and was too scared to engage with them in their steelman mode, then that would probably mean that I was concerned about my own beliefs on a deep level and I thought there was something flawed about them because I was worried about them being challenged. So in my last documentary, Crossfire, I had a head of the chapter of BLM go in and give his whole spiel and we steelmanned it in the documentary because I don't think it took away from the general consensus of the documentary at all to portray his opinion accurately. So that's kind of, I want to always ensure, I don't always do this, but I do want to observe and have a dialogue with people on the left and try to understand them best I can. And if I change my views, awesome. If not, awesome. Depends on what's true and what I believe are the best arguments there.
Okay. And to get this out of the way is like a direct message, not to you, but more so to the audience. Like the advice that Stephen gave me was to kind of manage the expectations of the audience for this conversation. I don't want to debate you about your positions. You have plenty of things that like I think get you in a lot of trouble that you believe in. You've done things that have gotten you in trouble and that people interpret one way or the other, sometimes overextending in what they're attributing to you, right? Which is something that upsets you a lot. And what I really want to focus on here is like getting some foundational understanding of how you're looking at the world, how you're looking at criticism, because criticism is something that follows you like the plague follows the reaper. And tackle some of the stuff that you wanted to change that I saw in your video about coming back. For instance, what you're talking about here was steelmanning positions that are maybe contrary to your own perspective or that lie on the other side of the aisle from what you would normally cover. So to start on that, like if you were to steelman some of these positions of the people who are criticizing you, if you were to steelman or pick some of the best criticisms against you that you've had to confront since coming back to the platform, what are those and how are you tackling them?
So you mean like the people criticizing me or my content or just a general level?
Yeah.
You mean the people that say I like shoot migrants with flares and stuff? These people?
Or like obviously you don't agree with those people. So I'm saying like you had to have looked at this huge body of like critical people and there has to be some hint of truth that you've seen here and there where you've made corrections in your content, in your approach, in your view of yourself. And I'm trying to see, have you seen those things? And if so, where are they and how are you addressing them?
Okay, so I did have a conversation with Destiny about this where I was talking to him about how it's really difficult for me to analyze what from a public perspective they feel I have genuinely done wrong, because I do want to understand if someone criticizes me, especially if there's someone close to me, I really want to understand, what have I done wrong here? How can I do better? And that is less important to me in a public sphere because they don't know my actual opinions. They don't know me as an individual person, but I'm still a public figure. So I do care. But when I go to that sphere to try to say, all right, I'm here. Let's see what you have to say to me. Let's see what you have to criticize. Oftentimes, they are wildly exaggerated claims, things that I know are not true. So I immediately have to toss that aside and be like, okay, that person's criticism of me is just not based on reality. And times I'll have people on my own side that are like, she can do no wrong. And so I'm in this terrible situation where when it comes to the public's perception of me, it's really difficult to analyze like how I can accurately work on myself in the public sphere. Because there's on a personal level, I have leftist friends that will criticize me, that know me well, that I can take back good feedback. But on the public square, I don't even know how to address it. So one of the people in response to your tweet that you were talking to me said, this woman inspired a mass shooter, blah, 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 blah. So I replied to him with a long form video I made addressing that claim, showing it was false. And he just replies, like, I don't give a fuck, Nazi, right? And I'm like, I literally do not know how to engage with your criticism because I don't think people that want an apology from me, I don't think people who want me to change or whatever, even know what I've done or what I think or what they want me to apologize for, because oftentimes they're asking me to apologize for things I've never done. So I'm like, and even if I did, I don't think they would care because I think it's a political game to them. I don't think it's about me genuinely. I don't think it's about the political discourse or getting to truth. I think a lot of that is a political game. Now, you asked me to steelman it, so I'll try my best to steelman it here. I think a lot of these people do trust mainstream media sources. I think a lot of these people will read content or quotes from me that have been taken out of context, in my opinion, and will say this is what Lauren feels. If you go to my Wikipedia page, it says I'm a white supremacist in the first paragraph. It says I'm alt-right. It says I tried to stop migrant votes. Like, dude, you read that stuff and it's like, well, Lauren, this is who you are. Or they look at Lauren associated with these groups that have white identitarian beliefs. Lauren associated with these figures that have said far-right things. And they would say, Lauren, this must clearly be your beliefs. This must clearly be your approach to politics. And for me, like, they can assert that and I can reply, no, that's not my beliefs. I don't want to kill all brown people. I don't want zero immigration. Sure, we can talk about why or how I associated with certain groups, but that's a different conversation to you asserting what I believe personally when you don't know it. So that's the difficulty there.
So a lot of difficulties, but not a single thing that you could see that anybody said that, like, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I fucked up there.
Okay, no. Let's think about that. Definitely approach in my previous videos where I've been going on the ground and like, so let's look at my rape culture video that I did. That was one of my big, people were just getting introduced to me and I held up a sign at a protest that said, rape culture in the West is a myth or something. That is not exactly the best way to engage with people that disagree with me. That is going to be a way that will inflame them initially to say and have the most absurd responses rather than really engage with their ideas and their thoughts and try to slowly take them apart or have them convince me. So some of my approaches have definitely been to deliberately expose what I viewed as irrational approaches to politics. So I've had my feminism or Islam video where I just go up to protesters and I'm like, feminism or Islam, which one would you pick? And they just blow up. And there's a deep conversation to have about that topic, and I do think in the end it is an absurd, uniting of ideas that don't really mesh in a lot of ways. But there's no doubt that I went in there knowing they were going to just freak out and not be their best position and best foot put forward. So there are absolutely aspects of me that I have to pull back that enjoy just taking the piss out of these people and not really trying to get to the core of the argument and not really trying to steelman them, but just trying to make them mad because I found it funny. So I think that is a fair criticism of me.
Okay. I can work with this. This isn't going as bad as I had initially anticipated. So, like, do you think it's fair to say that you're a bit like trolly or contrarian in that regard? Like, it makes you happy to like kind of irk people or shake their snow globe a little bit in that way?
Yeah. So that it comes from a position. And when I was younger, like when I just got into this, because I got into this when I was a teenager, I think people don't realize it was definitely, I do believe in these things, but it's also hysterical to see all these people who hate me reacting this way. And now I have to kind of control it because I see all these people screaming irrational accusations at me, and I just want to bring that back and be like, all right, I'm just going to piss you off. You know what? You want me to be Nazi queen? I may not believe in any of that, but fine. Let's take the piss. Like, let's have fun here. Because I'm never going to convince them one way or the other. And I have to hold that back. Lauren, these are a few people. There are people that do want to have a conversation. And if you react this way to them, they're going to see that and just assume that's how you engage with politics all the time. That's your belief. So I am trying to control that. Just, you know what? Like, fuck you guys. I'm just going to take the piss out of you. And I'm really trying to control that and be like, no, I actually do believe that I have reasonable viewpoints that can engage and I can meet ground with a lot of leftists in a lot of ways, definitely in descriptive analysis of the problems in the world. And we usually just disagree on how we can achieve the results. And I need to try to pursue that more if I want to settle down the extremes on both ends of the spectrum that are just wild right now. I think certainly in the Zoomer generation, I don't think like liberals and conservatives exist anymore. It's like you're a fascist or you're a communist in a lot of ways on these platforms, obviously not everywhere.
And as somebody that works on like optics and rhetoric, and that's kind of mostly where I'm known to like give people advice, like, hey, you're giving this person a lot of footholds, for instance, to believe that you wanted to sink all the people in that ship when you're stopping what is a rescue vessel from helping the people aboard that ship. Like, people are going to take that and they're going to go 5 steps further from what is the truth. And like, but you let them get that close because you were only 5 steps away from that bit of misinformation. And so I think having strategies that take into account how people are going to misconstrue the things that you're doing or the things that you're saying is helpful. And like, you mix this, like, you're getting them 5 steps close to that conclusion with like, you love triggering people and you love upsetting them, like, and this is a gnarly combination because you're going to get as close to that line as you can within the bounds of what you believe in. And unfortunately, as close to the line as you can is enough for a lot of people to say this person's crossing the line. That's too much. Like, because where you're drawing the line with your own understanding of your own beliefs on the inside is not how other people are doing it on the outside, and it's certainly not how people who think opposite of you will. So I'm happy to hear that like you recognize that contrarian kind of trolliness in you, and you realize that like, you know, cutting back on that is going to help you with reaching across to the other side or reaching consensus on a lot more stuff. But I wonder, like, internally, what are you doing to correct for that? Like, what are some like mental exercises, or like where are some moments where you feel like you're putting the brakes on, and what problems are you running into in like deploying that tactic?
Okay, so I did a video called Feelings Don't Care About Your Facts, and it was a whole analysis of a lot of internal dialogue I'd been having over the last year, where I would have a problem with only analyzing the factual side of conversations and not really analyzing how they impacted people on a social or emotional level, which, you know, as time goes by, more life experience, I've realized is actually the reason politics exists. We don't partake in politics so that we can get numbers and charts looking a certain way. We partake in politics so that we can have happy communities that enjoy life and love each other for these emotional motivations, right? So facts are just something that help us achieve emotional ends. We want happiness, we want love, we want goodness. And the fact that I'd spent so much time ignoring this whole half of the equation boggles my mind to this day, and is something that I've had to really adjust. So to explain what my brain was doing when I went into that protest with the feminists and held up a sign saying, you know, there is no rape culture in the West, is my brain was like, okay, pillar one, let's look at the culture and the aspects of culture. So we've got like the law, we've got like television and media, we've got academia, all these big pillars of our civilization. The law, absolutely against rape. You prove someone has raped someone, they're going to put you in jail. Media, dude, like you even get slightly accused of brushing a girl's leg unconsensually. Some people are losing their jobs over that kind of stuff. Academia, definitely against rape. And I was like, how can you say we live in a culture that supports rape? Bam, I'm just going to go there and tell them the truth. This is a false analysis. Now, of course, they have deeper arguments for there are institutions which cover it up. There are aspects of our culture that let it go ignored. To me, that is a different question about, I wouldn't say that is the culture at large, but aspects and institutions which have been used to...
Wait, important question. If I go kill the Necromancer Apprentice, am I going to fuck myself up? Also, can I do this with a team of like level 1 people? I'll do this next. Fuck it. It's not going to like start like events that are going to fuck me or something, right? I don't think so.
Or difficult processes. Like, it's not the police deliberately trying to make it so women can't go to the police and report a rape. It's just the process is really difficult to prove this stuff. And we do have to keep into mind innocent until proven guilty. And so those are conversations I could have had with these women. And it would have been really interesting to take that apart. But my brain was just like, nah, they're wrong. I need to go and tell them and show the world that they're wrong. And now I kind of realized, no, I have to take into account the emotional investment that they have in this. Some of these women may have been raped and they have an extreme reasonably an extreme emotional response to this political situation. And I need to take that into account. I need to take into account the social aspect of this conversation, how talking so bluntly and so harshly to people would impact our society at large if we did that to everyone. And the ability for us to understand each other rather than take steps to guide other people through that mental process that I went through. So I spent so much time just announcing the conclusions of my mental process and not taking and assuming if you didn't go through the same mental process as me, you're just a fucking idiot and you should know anyways. Whereas that's not the case. There are a lot of things that I have progressed and changed my mind on that it took a long time of mental progress, traveling and engaging with the world to change my conclusion. And I should not expect any less of other people, you know?
Yeah. And I'll put a pin in that because I am curious what some of those things would be. But before we lose this, this process that you're applying of understanding where other people are coming from emotionally or understanding how the context of something plays into how it's interpreted, like you going to a rally to do this would be very, very different than if you just said it on your YouTube channel, right? Like going to people who may actually be victims is very, very different than saying these things on your own platform. Could you not then apply this kind of reasoning to things like what you did on that boat and understand why people were so upset about it? Like, could you not apply this to other criticisms and then be able to steelman them and understand where those people are coming from in more situations? Because you were still unable to like name criticisms that you could steelman at the very beginning of this.
Okay, can we put the boat on hold for a second? I just want to quickly ask you a question. So do you understand why so many people, like that video that I did where I put up that sign at the feminist slut walk, it went viral, like millions of views, people loved it. Do you understand why so many people liked that video despite me taking that approach, which now I'm analyzing as having some issues?
I think you're appealing to a lot of extreme people on your side and moderate people on your side who alike can enjoy people on the other side getting put in awkward positions. I think that's at least part of it. And then another huge part is
steelman why people might like it.
Can I steelman why people might not like it? Because they believe that they're but okay. So audience, remember, I'm trying to be very careful to avoid the ideology thing, but I'm trying to, I'll work with Lauren here. So I think, from my understanding of people on the right, that they see a lot of hypocrisy in lefterly ideas. And they see a lot of places where you're turning a blind eye to certain parts of a culture or a policy that you're advocating, and you're not seeing how like there's overlap in some of the things that you want to accomplish and how those things are contradicted by other things you're trying to defend. So if you're talking about feminism and Islam, if you have a very extreme version in your mind of what Islam is, and you think that some of the central tenets of that religion are quite anti-feminist in their application in places where Islam takes over, like maybe right now in Afghanistan, then you can start to wonder why leftists promote Islam if that's going against the right. Is that fair? Like hypocrisy might be a huge thing there.
Sure. The video I was referring to was the one before I did the feminism versus Islam. I did a few of these slut walk ones, but could you, there are a lot of young men and myself as well in university settings that are constantly being told like, you need to learn not to rape women. You know what, maybe there are some absolute morons who do need to hear that message and that's unfortunate, but for the most part, most men know rape is wrong. For the most part, most men know that our culture they know that our culture is against rape and they don't want to rape. I think that is most men. Do I think there is a subsection of really bad people that unfortunately usually abuse a large amount of women? Of course, I do think that exists. But
now,
most men constantly being told this narrative and being demonized for it when they have done nothing personally, I think...
I have to pause you because like it's not just that like we're looking at like, oh well, of course there's some subsect of men that are evil that don't know rape is wrong, and most men know that rape is wrong. I think that like you're not steelmanning what people want out of this. It's not that they want to tell men that rape is wrong. It's that they want men to understand a broader definition of rape, a broader definition of sexual harassment, to realize that some of the things that they may think is not impactful at all or might not constitute sexual harassment, might not constitute rape, do, and that you need to be more careful about looking out for situations where you might be engaging that behavior, where other people might engage in that behavior that you have kind of subconsciously normalized. Like I think that is the most steelmanny way of putting that. I don't think it's like they want people to understand rape is wrong. Like I feel like that's a real shallow way of putting it.
Okay, I can accept that. I think that's fair. But I'm sure you've also heard the argument, if you start with a lie, people aren't going to believe anything else you say. Men living in a culture where every day they are being told rape is wrong, where every institution talks about how rape is bad, where rape is illegal, and if you're proved to have raped someone, you go to jail, and being told we live in a culture that is a pro-rape culture, they're probably not going to listen to anything else you say. Can you see that as a problem? And we can admit that my approach to challenging that was dumb. We can admit that. But can you see that starting with a lie?
Yeah, but those are people who have the same problem that you're having here, where they heard the thing up front and they stopped, like they didn't really think about it any deeper. They didn't try to steelman it. Like, I think that the problems that you talked about in the very beginning of this with steelmanning and stuff are problems a lot of people have that they need to get better at. So yeah, on its face, yeah, that seems dumb. Like, everybody should know that rape is wrong. But like, that's not what was meant there, as I just explained. And all it would take is listening to people a little bit deeper to understand that part of it. But that's a step that people aren't doing. So while I would agree that, yeah, some people are going to do that, they're going to tune out because they think that's a dumb way of putting it and they already know better. I think that that's a failure on their part right there. And that if they choose to do that.
Do we live in a rape culture, in your opinion? Like, does the general Western culture support rape?
No, not in my opinion.
So how is that people misunderstanding what is being said by these people?
Because they're not looking a few steps deeper. They're not trying to be charitable to that side of things. Like, would I listen to the people saying that the people of the West support and endorse rape? Like, no, because that's a bit crazy. But if you listen to the reasonable people that are the ones who are like in academia that are pushing these things, it's more so talking about educating people on how their relationships, how their interactions with women are like flawed. But like, again, I don't want to get into debating you about this stuff, right? Because
I think you know that there's a problem with that. Because
I admitted that.
I said black people are all criminals. And then you were like, but Lauren, that's simply not true. And I said, well, you're not thinking about the deeper argument being made here. Like, there's a lot of data that shows there's criminality among blacks, blah, blah, blah. You need to think, no, if the first statement that you're talking about is a statement that you have to reject logically because it doesn't add up with what is going on in reality, then why are you trying to defend that? Well, you need to think of the context when it's clear that my question is about that statement directly. I'm sure there's lots of conversations to have beyond that.
You're going to push me into a place where I'm not going to look optically or rhetorically good, but you picked the wrong one with that, because I'm actually somebody that's of the belief. Well, like, you're pushing me to a place where I think most people generally concede to you, but I wouldn't. I think that when people are saying things like that, and there's a large group of them, that you have to listen to where that's coming from. You have to dig deeper into that. Then you need to work at that level with those people to pull them out of it, or to like understand enough to maybe like go, oh, okay, you don't mean what you just said in a single sentence. You mean like subpoint A and B and C, and subpoints B and C are things that I think can be addressed or explained to you in a way to where you won't say it in this like abbreviated way, right? Or you won't turn people.
Sorry, 1 second. What? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
People off.
I agree with you, though.
Yeah, I know you don't. So I'm just saying, like, my answer to that is probably not what you're going to expect. I do think that you need to dig deeper into that with that statement the same way you would with the rape statement. I apply that equally to both sides of things.
If a leftist freaked out that someone said all black people are criminals, you would say, listen, you need to give them a chance and you need to actually try to understand their beliefs and dig deeper. That would be your response?
That's what it is when I'm on stream. Yeah, like, you have to dig deeper into that. Like, especially if you're in a debate with somebody in particular, which is normally the context where I have this, you have to try to understand what's going on with that if you want to change their mind at all, because that's generally part of your purpose in the debate. Or you want to kind of change the mind of the people that are that kind of agree with that statement from that person, right? And in either case, you need to understand that better. So in the context of debates,
that's a rough bullet to bite.
Would you agree that there's a difference between digging deeper and trying to understand and accepting the statement they've made? Because I think you can do both. I think I can, well, I'll admit, I did not do it in that rape culture video I did, but I think you can balance both. You can say, I reject your analysis. I reject that we live in a rape culture. I reject that all black people are criminals, and I want to make that known and why. But also, I'm sure there are reasons you came to these conclusions, and let's analyze that. Let's talk about the actual data you're looking at. Let's talk about the reasons.
Yep.
Can you not have both there?
You can, yeah. That would be what I would advocate for.
Right. Okay, well then we agree.
Awesome. And in the future, I may like do an X that I don't want to like get into like too much of a back and forth with you, because again, I'm already taking a super huge optical hit talking to you, and my focus is not necessarily on these like back and.
Crazy that sounds. Just sorry.
I don't think it's crazy, Lauren. You've done some crazy shit. You've made some dumb fucking videos. Like.
It's true. Like what you were saying is true that it's optically bad to talk to me. But I just think it's crazy that the internet has gotten to that point where instead of having genuine political discussions with people and trying to convince people that disagree with you, it's like, this is an optical mistake. You can't, like, because the word optics to me doesn't sound like genuine politics. It sounds like I'm trying to shift, be shifting to appear one way or the other. But I don't think you're trying to do that.
Yep.
Genuine statement
that is what optics means.
Important,
absolutely.
And that's something I've had to learn. I just think it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Personally, I know it's not to the world.
It sucks if you always want to be a straight shooter, or even worse, if you want to like play around with the ideas and be playful with them and whatever. Like I can understand that, because I used to be in a similar position to you where I thought, I'm just going to be honest, I'm going to shoot you straight. And if you're going to be dumb, I'm going to be dumb right back to you. But like, it just really doesn't help, as you mentioned, to like communicate with people or to come to some understanding, or hell, to move them over to your side. And that's why I came onto the platform in the first place, is I think that a lot of people could have better conversations if they just considered the other side a little bit more, or worded something a little bit better. And I think that rather than like demonize optics or the need for like improved rhetoric, I think that like you just need to realize what your goal is. And if your goal is to talk to people and convince them or have a good conversation, then that's a necessary part of that, is like making whatever you're saying palatable to the person across the table. And that's going to change depending on who it is. If you're talking to a clone of yourself, you can make whatever yikesy jokes you want, right? Because the clone of you like knows what you mean by it. But like, we're rarely ever talking to a clone of us. And so there's always some level of like wrapping it up in a way that's meant for that person, or in a way that they'll understand it, because the whole point is for them to understand it. And if we're not like careful to the palate of like who we're serving food to, then why are we serving food to them in the first place? What is the purpose of cooking the food? It's for them to enjoy it. So you got to cook it the way that they want it, right?
I think that's a really good point. Really good point. And that's something that I've been working on. It's a long process, trust me. What is it? When Paul in the Bible became a Christian, it took him 13 years of disappearing to reevaluate his life. It takes a long time to work on these things that are so integral to us. Like, yeah, I'm just going to be a straight shooter versus what is the actual objective here. Is the objective for them to understand, or is the objective to get good video content? And it's a hard balance in this world in media. It sucks because there's absolutely so many external pressures to push for not to have understanding.
Yeah. And like kind of speaking to objectives, when you made this return video, was any part of your objective to get the people that are criticizing you to understand you better or to buy into like this new and improved approach? Because I would have to imagine that you did, right?
Of course, yeah. And, that's also part of the reason I came to Twitch, because I love that I have supporters that love my perspectives on the world. But guys, like my content, you've seen it all. I can't watch conservative content anymore because I can literally complete their sentences in my head. I only watch left-wing content now because I know all the conservative arguments. And so do you guys and my conservative followers. It feels good to know that you're not alone in the world. Absolutely. But my content now is in large part for leftists because I want to talk to them. I want to bridge that divide. And it's something that I constantly have an internal struggle with. I live in the tension there, as in I see how leftists respond, and it's so insane sometimes, so vile. Like, I'm not even going to watch your explanation. And I just am like, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. You can sing in the boat. I don't care anymore. No, and then I'm like, no. That is not why you're doing this. You need to talk to these people. They're human beings too. You want to treat them the way you want to be treated. They've got good observations of the world in some cases. In fact, they acknowledge a lot of the same problems you do. And you just, you got to go through those logical steps with them. And I'm working on that. But, I'm a human being. Like, if you expect me not to be flawed, and if people expect me not to mess up in that regard, in my goals and objectives, like, you're kidding yourself.
Yeah, and I'll take this opportunity to speak to the audience a little bit that are.
Hold on one second, let me get some food. I have to fucking sleep in this next room. Dude, my fucking occultist. Fucking loser. 1 second. All right, guys, what are we thinking? How fucked is Booksmarts going to be after this conversation? Not a lot of fighting yet. Uh-oh.
Are listening on my side that I'm concerned with. Like, I don't trust that, like, you're going to be good at this. Like, I know you're going to be bad at it because you spend a lot of time being a contrarian ever since you were a little girl and in, like, saying yikesy shit and in being a freaking troll. And unfortunately, there are consequences to that people feel or people perceive where, like, some of your takes on immigration in the past are things that are going to, like, hurt immigrants, or they're going to encourage people in other countries to support policies that are going to hurt these people. And so I think they have reason to be upset that you were talking about really serious issues and being contrarian and being yikesy and being jokey about them, because the people that are privy to that side of things that are hooking onto them and then implementing policy are like legitimately hurting people. And so, like, I'm happy to hear that you're doing this, but, like, me and whoever else, like, looked at your other stuff, it's going to take a while for us to believe in that. And I think part of that is going to be, like, being better optically and demonstrating this. So if that's ever something that you're open to, like, input on, I review videos all the time. So if you want me to review some...
Have you watched, because I find a lot of people who have a problem with me, and I get this is just a problem with the internet in general, and I do it too. They'll watch a single video or interview I did 6 years ago and be like, that is Lauren now. And of course, they can't see in one, they'll watch that video and then they'll watch me now and be like, this is the same person. And they can't reasonably see the 6 years of growth, education, travel, all these things that went between there. Am I lagging, guys? I'm lagging on my end.
Yeah.
What is going on here? Un momento.
No worries.
Oh, my whole computer is lagging. Hello. It's actually not even my internet. It's my whole computer. I think we're back.
Yeah, looks like it.
I was just running out of battery. I don't like to keep my laptop battery plugged in because it tends to damage the battery. I saw that on WikiHow to make your computer work better. All right, so what was I saying? I was talking about they don't see the 6 years of growth. So let me ask you, like, have you seen my most recent content that I did right before I took a break on immigration?
No, I don't think so. What was the title?
And that, like, changing my mind on immigration. Did that 3 years ago. That title. And I'll tell you right now, 99% of the people criticizing me haven't seen that video either.
Whose fault do you think that is, as like a promoter of the content and stuff, and as the only marketer?
I shared it on everything. I mention it when people bring up immigration. So That's the question. If I put out 2 videos, one that I put out 6 years ago where I had a certain perspective, and then I put out another video saying I've changed my mind on this perspective and I've shared it on all my platforms, do you still think I'm at fault for people not seeing that?
So I think that the expectation is that you do even more than that, as unfortunate as that is, because it's not that you did like one video that was good and one video that was bad. It was that like the bulk of your opinions and your content and anywhere you go where you were talking about these things was like really, really negative about immigration. So you're setting up this kind, like you're building a bunch of kindling in a field and you're keeping all this dry grass out there, never cleaning it up. And all it's going to take is one of those kinds of videos and the whole thing goes up because you've set it up to be that way. So I think the only way that you can...
You're wrong. It's because you don't know me well enough. You don't. And you haven't watched my content enough. So you just don't know. And someone in the chat just made a point. They were like, it's not her fault if they refuse to watch it. And it genuinely is a problem of refusing to watch in many cases. I know because I deal with this every day. Someone making an accusation of me, I send them the link to the video, and every time it's useless. I'll even DM these people sometimes and be like, here, watch this, please. And they tell me, fuck off. So you want to know what I spent the most money on? And I don't really make money on my documentaries. They tend to be a black hole of throwing money into.
Well, I actually want to go back to that. Do you really not think that like the body of your content was creating an environment where all it took was really one yikers thing for people to put the pieces together and to think negatively of you? Do you not think there's any merit in considering that?
I mean, like, you'd have to point to specific videos. I don't think you could say all of your videos are yikes when I have videos that are like talking about, you know, I have videos just talking about basic relationships of how to make girlfriends, you know? So you'd have to talk about specific videos.
Your ones on immigrants or migration.
When you propose it in that way, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be able to disavow everything I've ever said in the past. You'd have to give me specific points that I would have to go through. And I hate it when people propose it that way. Like, are you going to disavow your whole past? Because I can't do that. Because I know it's a complex layer.
Let's pause. Because that's not at all what I'm saying.
You're right.
I'm saying
that's
like,
not what you're saying.
You put out a lot of videos where you were constantly giving takes on immigrants and on migration. And all of those set the foundation for you having one video that's really, really bad. And then people putting these pieces together as to who you are as a person. And it won't matter how many like little cups of water you throw on. You can't compare the volume of a cup of water to the ember that started that. You need to look at all the other...
to address.
Okay, go ahead.
That's what I was like in the middle of that. When I was saying that the project that I've spent the most money on out of anything I've ever done and the most time on, risked my life on, genuinely almost spent 5 years in Turkish prison making it, was my documentary Borderless on immigration, of which the conclusion is that immigrants are a victim of a horrible, corrupt system, and of which I lost a ton of alt-right subscribers who told me I cucked out for immigrants. When my conclusion was actually that there are a lot of Europeans, whether they be ethnic Europeans or not, people who live in Europe, that have suffered as a result of mass immigration, as well as immigrants, and particularly illegal migrants that are suffering as a result of illegal trafficking, getting coaxed into coming to Europe on a false promise by traffickers who are saying they're going to live up the high life, and then they end up sleeping under bridges in France because they didn't go through the proper migration process. They threw out their passports on the advice of traffickers. They can't speak the language. They can't get a job, and their lives are destroyed. I spoke to some of these people who were like, I want nothing more than to go back to my home country because I was sold a lie, and it's horrific. These are human beings. They just want to live. I would probably do the same thing in their circumstances that they did. If I were told, hey, you can go to Europe and you can become a soccer star. You can live in a beautiful house, and Europeans, they just have everything. It was so fucking sad, man. I was in Morocco, and there were a bunch of men that had been living up in the mountains there, like off nothing for some of them years, trying to get on boats over to Spain. And they were telling me about how they were going to become rap stars and soccer players. And I'm like, fuck, these people are going to be living under a bridge when they get there. And they don't know this, and they've sacrificed everything. And I think they're absolutely victims of this system as well. And there are, you know, I've never been opposed to just migration, and I've never said that, but there are aspects of this illegal migration chain that are completely corrupt and ruining lives on all ends. You know, you have to have checks and balances so that extremists don't come in. You have to have checks and balances to ensure people can have a job. When I've gone through the immigration process, you have to prove I'm going to have somewhere to live. I can speak the language. I can have a job. Otherwise, you're setting someone up for failure. So like that was the project I spent the most money on, which was very humanizing of migrants. But the thing is, none of my critics watch it. And that was 3 years ago. So to be like, Lauren's had this sudden change, like, no, I've slowly changed my views with information and grown in my observations. But if people don't watch it, I mean, Borderless has over 1 million views. It's just not the people that hate me that are watching this, unfortunately, but a lot of people watch that. And I can genuinely say I've probably done fucking more to de-radicalize the far right and have them see immigrants as human than any of these leftists who just scream at them and say they're all fascists and Nazis for having legitimate concerns about illegal immigration, terrorism, and problems that it causes.
When you set it up like that, yes, because doing that's not going to convince the people that are on the anti-immigration side. And I think what you're learning as well is that you can't turn the tides of this by dumping a bunch of money and time into a single documentary, because that didn't work out either. So with the understanding
that didn't work out,
you just said that wasn't able to turn the tides, that people still believe these things about you.
It changed a lot of people. I'm not making this documentary to make people not think that I'm a fascist. I'm making it because it's what was actually happening on the ground.
To communicate.
Got educated on that, and really enjoy the documentary and change their perspectives.
But your entire point in bringing that up was in response to me about like kind of trying to turn this tide, which is why I'm focusing on that. Is like.
No. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it didn't accomplish that. And you're even saying with the farther alt-right people, it wasn't enough to convince them. Instead, they said that you were cucking out for the other side and yada yada. So
some of them.
Yeah, some of them. Enough for you to notice.
People who want to listen. I am trying to portray my views in a reasonable, palatable way for people. I'm trying my best. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't want to listen to you, they're not going to. So I can do everything I want to. And if someone in the far corners of the alt-right wants to be like, Lauren, I refuse to see these people as human. They are literally barbarian savages that just want to kill all people. I can say as much as I want, and I'll put it out there. And if they don't want to listen to me, they're not going to listen to me. That goes the same for people that want to just be like, Lauren views all migrants as barbarians and savages that just want to kill white people. If they want to think that, I can say as much as I want, and they're not going to change their mind. The same way that you make videos, and everyone makes videos on the internet, and it still doesn't convince all these people. Like, what do you expect of me as a creator? Do you expect me to change the whole tides of politics for people that don't want to change? I can do what I can, and I can try to be palatable and do my best to portray information accurately. But at the end of the day, I am not there turning these people's necks. I can't force them to believe one thing or the next. And I don't think I should be held responsible for forcing them to do so. Neither should you. Neither should other creators on the platform. Like, hey, ContraPoints, why are there still alt-righters? Why didn't you convince them all to stop being alt-right with your videos? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's a ridiculous standard to hold someone
Sure,
to.
but that's not what I'm getting at here. So in part, we're talking about, you said a lot of things in the past that were very much so in line with some of the people that you were then unable to convince out of that with this video, with this documentary, right?
No. What thing did I say that you are the most offended by that I've said in my immigration videos in the past? Like, what upset you the most? Like, let's deal with
Can we focus on like this line?
Because I need to know. You keep just talking about a general. Like, you said things. What things did I say? Like, I want to address it. I want to, like, let's see particularly what point I put out there that I haven't, worked to change people's minds on. That was a horrific point that has caused a lot of damage in the world. Like, what point is that?
If you can't think of any point, then I'll move off of this because I don't think we're going to make progress on this.
You should have to say what, because you can't just speak in these generalities. You did bad thing. You said bad thing. Like, do you know? This is why I get so frustrated talking to people who want to criticize my past. Is they actually know fucking nothing about me or my past so often.
I do. I had to do a lot of research before this.
Lauren bad. Okay, well then give me a quote, man.
Oh no.
That you think is,
we're gonna move off
about
of this.
immigration.
Oh no.
Give me a single quote on immigration that I said that you think contributed badly to the world. I'm not saying that I probably haven't done it, but I want to know if you actually know, or if you're just doing this Lauren bad thing.
No, I do know, Lauren. I'm going to stop because then we will continue with this, and I don't want to argue with you about these things. So I'm going to present criticisms. I'm going to walk as far as I can with you, but the moment we hit a wall like that, I'm going to move off of it because I have tons of other stuff.
Because I am convinced.
It's a wall for me.
I'm wrong, but you said you've done a lot of research on me, so you should be able to. If I'm as bad, or
I've done enough to know how this goes. I've done enough to know how this goes, and that's not where I want to go.
Okay, so how does this go?
So we're going to get in a long, heated exchange about some particular quote rather than talking about the broad, general thing that I'm trying to bring your attention to. And you won't let me talk about the broad, general thing because you want to go into a specific thing that you can defend, that you could fight against, that we're going to get caught up in. And that's not the conversation that I want to have.
But this is the problem is people say Lauren bad, everything she did before, Lauren bad. And then most of the time, that opinion is just derived from the general consensus that I'm bad and not actually anything I've said or done. Can you see the problem there?
I understand that. I know that. I can empathize with that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And that's not what I'm doing. So if that's where you think I'm going with it, then we don't have to continue on this one.
Well, like people in the audience are even, they're like, okay, like if she's as bad or was as bad as he's saying, like
he should be able to give a point.
Specific horrific point that she said. And like, can you see how that's really frustrating for me?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just accept the premise that Lauren bad for the past 6 years.
If you don't think that you said negative things about immigration, if you don't think that you've said really negative things about immigration, or you think that I should,
what is the negative thing I said?
Or you think
this is not
okay, well, we're going to move on because we spent a lot of time on this, Lauren.
No, dude, what videos? Okay, what videos have you
Oh
watched?
no.
What of my videos have you watched on immigration?
I'm not going to give you another step in that direction, Lauren. I have to be responsible with you. I didn't want to argue with you. I promised I wouldn't debate you. We've gone too far.
How am I supposed to know? Why would we keep going with you questioning about my life when you're making it appear as though you have done no research on it? Like, why should I let someone do an inquisition on whether I'm a good or a bad person, or I'm approaching the world from a good or a bad way? If
I didn't say good or bad.
About my past.
I didn't say good or bad. I said you had negative opinions about immigration. You thought negatively about immigration. So hold on. Lauren, now you're looping. So Lauren, I have a whole section of this where I have a ton of quotes from 2 of your videos. So if you want to have a conversation where we only work off of quotes, I think this would be a better one to have. So like, I'm trying to be empathetic here. Like if you want that kind of thing, I have that prep. So we could go to that if you want. And that might be more fruitful than the immigrant thing because I've watched you debate people about this before.
Okay, so can I just at least reframe the premise? I have never disagreed with immigration. And this is already what's pissing me off, is in the past, I know for a fact, I've never disagreed with immigration.
What about illegal immigration?
Absolutely. I have massive problems with illegal immigration. So if you want to, and I'm far from the only one, almost every institution in the world, every government in the world, most people in the world are against illegal immigration, and to portray it as this like, oh my gosh, those horrific views she has when they're very normal and tend to exist to have a functioning state. Like, yes, I have a problem with that portrayal. Like, how dare you say these things? You had negative opinions of illegal immigration in the past. Okay, why is that an inherently bad thing?
I didn't say it was an inherently bad thing. I don't believe that. The way you are portraying
it. The way you are portraying, like, do you feel guilty? I think the chat, I mean, well, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I do think the way that you're portraying this is an inquisition about comments I've made on illegal immigration in my past being wrong. And so I do need, because I do not to this day believe that criticizing illegal immigration is a bad thing, I do need to understand what those comments were. There are probably things you could point to that I've said in the past that I would disagree with today, but speaking on it on a general level, I'm not going to be able to go and be like, yes, that's bad. I'd have to see specific points that I made, specific to be like, okay, I've changed my perspective on that, right? So it is difficult to have this on a general, broad conversation.
Yeah, and to be like, to just give my final little parting thing on this before we move to like quoted stuff, which I think you'll enjoy more. Like, remember that when we were talking at the very beginning, you were frustrated with like, I put out this documentary, I put a lot of hard work into this, put a lot of time into this. It said things that like would totally go against what the criticisms of me are, and people didn't watch it. People refused to watch it. It didn't work to change people's perception of me. And
a lot of people did watch it.
Yeah, sure, but that wasn't the point you were making. The point you were making was like, yeah, it's still got 1 million views, but it's not impacting these people who like don't want to listen, or these people who have these negative opinions, right? That's where the conversation was, and that's why I was going to like, well, there were other bits of content you put out, other things that you've done, and those are the things that people are using to kind of put together the pieces about this thing, and that this one documentary isn't going to be able to put that fire out. But you know, I understand that if I was meant to sit here and go point by point with you, if I was meant to sit here and debate you, if I was to criticize your positions as wrong and I had some alternative to offer, then it would be totally reasonable to expect the quotes and to go back and forth on it. But that's just not the conversation that I want to do with you, because I don't want to argue with you about stuff. So if you don't feel like that's an accurate framing or that's not in line with reality, we can move on to the other stuff.
Okay, so I understand what you're trying to do, and I apologize for trying to drag you into a conversation you didn't want to have, and an approach you didn't want to take or get into. But yeah, that's the problem there is in order to continue having parts of the problem or parts of the conversation you want to have, I have to accept a premise I inherently disagree with. So we can't continue down that route, right?
Yeah, and that was something Stephen mentioned to me. Like, oftentimes it's difficult for you to accept or process the criticisms that are levied against you because people aren't able to provide quotes to you or specific things to you. And where they're starting from is something that is like completely off. Like, you're never going to be able to agree to it because it's something that's not true. It's not supported by facts. And this gets back to something we talked at the very beginning. And some advice I would have is like, you often have to like be the bigger person and steelman that. As shitty as that sounds, some of these people don't deserve it, but others might. Where you have to like look deeper into that, be critical of it, of like your own first like impression of it, and look deeper as to like, where is this coming from? What quotes could Booksmarts have been talking about here, or what videos could Booksmarts be referring to here? Because if you did that, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have like had such like a big heated exchange too, because you probably would have realized where I was going with it. But you know,
can I address that quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I understand as a public figure that is my responsibility to try to understand people, to try to listen to people, even if they're being unreasonable. But if you do consider that from a slightly different perspective, you have to steelman the gaslighting about you. You know, that would be the most insane advice to give someone in an abusive relationship, for example. You know, their partner is telling them they're evil, they're a piece of shit, and the therapist is like, listen, you have to steelman that. Think about where you could be a piece of shit. Think about where think about where you cheated when they didn't cheat. So, like, could you have possibly cheated on your partner? They keep telling you cheated on them. I know you didn't, but could you steelman? Like, that's insanity driving for someone, especially when they deal with it 24/7. And I've seen this happen with Destiny. And you have to understand, it's a very human reaction. This is why he like just gets pissed off. He's like, these fucking people. It's like, you guys act like idiots. You know, they call him names, they call him racist when he's so obviously done so much to combat the far right. Like, one of our biggest debates is him. Quite frankly, he won that debate on immigration with me, right? And he still gets these accusations. And at what point does a creator have to accept the gaslighting for the sake of making the piece? And at what point are they allowed to have a human reaction and be like, a human and a rational reaction and be like, no.
So,
no.
I promise this will be the last thing, because we will keep going back and forth for forever. If somebody's in an abusive relationship, definitely that's not the advice to them, right? If they have somebody in the relationship who is gaslighting them, most certainly not the advice for them. But like you mentioned at the very beginning, if you're a public figure, unfortunately, this is the advice. It is the world we live in. And like you and Destiny have both realized, Destiny in I think it was 2020, he said it'll be the year of rhetoric. That's because in part because he spoke to me, and I told him like, this is a reality that you have to kind of understand. And if you really want to connect with people, it's a hurdle that you have to get over. And luckily, it's a hurdle where like a huge part of that is like in your court, and there are things that you could work on. Sure, there are people who will refuse to listen, but the people that refuse to listen aren't the people that you can really account for. They're not the people you're trying to convince, because no amount of change on your end is ever going to solve that. But there are people who we can convince, and we want to figure out what that group of people is and how we can change things to be palatable to those people. And so that's where you focus. And every time the focus moves from that group of people that we can reach to like, oh, but the people that never listen, they're so fucking frustrating. Like, yeah, it is. But we cannot focus on that, because it'll take the wind out of our sails for like improving everything else. We really have to focus on the people that are like, they're only 5 steps away from like sort of agreeing with us. If we just change the palatability a little bit, then they would like it. And that's usually where I like to focus, because there's more positivity there. Like, even in this conversation before I came here, there were people retweeting stuff like you saw that are just going ballistic about it, or that think that like, I'm here to be a part of your retribution tour, or I'm here to make you look super palatable or whatever. And like, that's not what this has been so far. And I would hope that's not what this will become, right? Like,
retribution
they
tour.
haven't even heard
like
a conversation
that.
yet, and they're upset about it. And those are the people that I can't be worried about, because I can't convince them. But for the people that do watch the conversation, I want them to realize that I hear you, and like I see you, and like do what I can to account for the people who will listen long enough to like get it, right? And so it's easy for our view to shift over to those awful people that will never listen, but it's never productive, right?
Okay, so let me just confirm something from you, because with the framing, I kind of assumed when you said, what have you done to alleviate your critics' concerns about you? Of course, when I think of my critics, I think of some of these crazy people. So you're slicing those off, and that's not an aspect of my critics, is what you're saying.
They're not going to be the helpful
like
ones.
That is an aspect. They're not the ones that you're focusing on who I should be talking to.
Like sometimes they can be, right? Sometimes they are pointing us to things that it only takes a little bit of effort to understand where they're coming from, even if they're dumb fucks on the surface. Sometimes, but yeah, for the most part, no. The people that will refuse to listen to you ever in the future, that's going to be difficult. Now, not always, right? Because imagine if somebody had an audience of people who all refuse to listen to you the way that a lot of lefty communities are now. They coincidentally will have to because they're watching the Serfs on something or they're watching Hassan on something, right? So they're still forced to listen. When they're forced to listen, then we need to start considering them. Even if they're people who would not normally consume your content, you still want to be aware of those people and for looking for ins with them, just so you could test it, because you're also not God and you're not able to predict that they will always be in that state of not listening. So when you have them in a chair in front of you, just try what you can. Like there are people who are assholes who don't like comedy that go to comedy bars just to be upset, but that doesn't mean that like we're not trying to get everybody in the room to laugh or something like that, or focusing on that person and letting it ruin our set. Like we want to get everybody in on it. And I think that when they're sitting in those chairs and they're forced to listen to you, that's when you can try new material and really try to get at them. And eventually you will find something that's convincing, and it'll be completely unintuitive, because before you had tested that thing and saw that it worked, you were under the impression that they were completely unreachable. They weren't worthy of consideration, yada, yada. But it may be that you'll have a conversation with Serfs or somebody else where you're like, oh, weirdly enough, they really listen to me when I say X, Y, or Z. Like maybe that's how I communicate this to people. That's not what would work on me at all. And to get back to the, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, what's funny? I've actually thought about this, and I was thinking to myself, because I asked Serfs to do a debate in real life, right? And we're both in the same city, it would be great. And I actually reckon if Serfs and I sat down for a beer at a bar, we would probably agree on a lot. I've noticed this, I know that sounds weird to a lot of my audience, but I've had this happen so many times with far leftists, where once the ego element has been taken out of it, the online posturing element of, I have to disagree with you, there has to be that tension, you'll actually find you agree on a lot more than you disagree on. But unfortunately, so much of that ego and online posturing aspect makes you focus on the disagreements rather than on the points that you could find common ground. And it's tough. It's tough because I do think there's so much social pressure to have certain opinions in this culture, this society we live in, and how we overcome and navigate those social pressures is incredibly challenging, and those optical pressures is incredibly challenging, which is why I appreciate what you do with your analysis of debates. I find it fantastic, even if we have disagreements here. I find it really interesting because in a way you are trying to bridge that gap between extremes and radicals online and showing, and even just normal debaters online, whoever it may be, bridge that gap and showing them how to communicate better, which you ultimately need, because no one's going to agree on something if they're speaking two different languages and going past each other. No, I do think that's a good thing you do online, but yeah, I still disagree with some of your analysis of me. Of course. I'll leave that.
And like to comment on one little thing that I promise we'll agree. You noted in one of your videos that like you're not able to be one of these people that just says progressive stuff that they don't believe in because they know that it'll get them something. It's like those are some like keys to the kingdom. Like if I just say this thing, if I just do this thing, I'm able to get the people away from me, get them off of me. I'm able to like appease the horde a little bit. Like I thought with this conversation that if I were to start off by maybe 20% of it, like I told you in DMs, I think like to just start off with like some of the criticisms or some of the bad stuff that's happened, that maybe that will get them off of me. But half measures don't work in that way, right? Like you can't say like I'm pro BLM. I did all this stuff for it. I put the black thing on my page. But I gotta say the BLM has some, like it doesn't do what you wanted it to do. It only works in the purest form to use those keys. And so yeah, so like, oh, where to start with this video? So you were trying to reach some people who were critical of you. How well do you think you did that in this like coming back video? How well do you think you were able to reach those people and speak to them? People that would have been critical of you that would listen through the whole thing.
I honestly, it was hard to gauge an analysis on that because I'd been so far removed from the online sphere for a year there. I felt like when I stepped back in, I had stepped into an entirely different world. I was like just flabbergasted by how much the political scene had changed. I do think a lot of people were like, ooh, excited to give me a chance, but they were excited because they thought I'd become a leftist and didn't realize that I was still a conservative, just open to hearing other perspectives more and deliberately wanting to hear other perspectives more. Like I say, I really only listen to leftist content anymore because I really want to understand their views. I really do. I'm trying very hard. And if you're someone that's followed me for a long time, you'll see that in my content. But if you aren't someone who's followed me for a long time, I'm still right-wing piece of shit, conservative trash, whatever. And this is what I was thinking when you said half measures. You were like, half measures won't cut it. And I know that. And I also, that's part of the reason that I will never do this big apology tour, because I know that they don't actually want me to apologize for, oh, you did X, Y, Z. They actually want to apologize for me being a conservative. If I come out and I say I apologize for one quote I said in a video, but I still have a lot of problems with illegal immigration, they're going to be like, well, what the F was that apology for? You're still a Nazi, because they inherently believe that is still an extremist view. In a lot of cases, not everyone. I think there are some people that are more reasonable. That's why I talk to Destiny. I think he's really reasonable, and I really respect his analysis of politics because it's very truth-based. And a lot of people wonder, they're like, why does he talk to Lauren? Why does he give her a chance? We disagree on a lot. We do, Destiny and I. But I think he is willing to talk to me because he's experienced what I've experienced with so many people lying about him, and it's really difficult to understand that dichotomy and really difficult to, I think there's a level of understanding there of having so many people lie about you and having to address false claims and not really having to get to a point where you don't give a shit anymore. So I said a lot there.
Dude, this is cultist,
the initial point we were talking about.
You're totally fine because we're moving on to the next thing anyways. In like, oh man. So like, remember before how we were talking about how like the people that won't listen or the people that are like hard stuck, we can't focus on them for our strategy, right? We have to focus on the people that are at least willing to watch the full video, or these reasonable people that you're talking about that are more of like the Destiny-esque approach to things are going to hear you out. I think like this is another instance of like when you're talking about those other people, the people criticizing me, it's very easy to characterize them all as the people with the worst aspect of that, where they don't want to listen to you, they're not fucking hearing it, whatever. But there's a huge group of those people that dislike you that like will listen to you. And I actually think that like that's probably a bigger group. Most people just have like a passing belief about you because they've only like seen an audio clip or something. And often for those people who make up like a huge number of these people, granted they're not the people in your DMs harassing you and stuff, those are the crazies. I think there's still a huge group of people that have something on a second monitor that'll just be like, oh, Lauren Southern's come around, she's sounding a lot more reasonable nowadays, right? And those are the people you probably want to focus on, and they definitely do exist. And I think that like this video in particular could have been made in a way that better got at those people, even if it came at the cost of like reaching the people who are already on your side. Like little decisions, like when in the video you mentioned the toxicity of online communities, and you're talking very broadly about this and how it's a both sides thing. The visual elements were all like CNN, MSNBC, people on Twitter that are like talking negatively about conservative people. There was one version of both, one version of a news channel and one version of a tweet that was like a version of Republican people or conservative people being that way. But if the video was meant to be directed at people who are not already believing you or who are not already on your side, these are the kinds of decisions where like, oh, we could have included different kinds of screen grabs to show that like you better understand where this is coming from on both sides. And that could have easily been a way to reach more of the people that, you know, you're trying to, right? The people that are on the other side.
Oh, trust me, I know it's a problem on both sides at a far deeper level than most people ever will. But yeah, I guess, you know, that's something that I'm not thinking. That's a problem with the way that I think and I approach things. Is I really just, in general, my approach to things isn't like, how am I going to psychologically manipulate these people or to make them more on side with me. I really just try to say things how I see them. And like I said, I know that's a problem. And I know I have to try to be palatable to people with how I present things. But I have trouble with it. I have trouble with it. I'll just be real. I want to say things how I see them. And that's my biggest problem, absolutely, with trying to engage with leftists. And you know what? Here's a give I'll say is there's probably a lot of leftists that feel that way as well, and that's why the two of us can't communicate, because they won't give me any wiggle room to be like, okay, come on, man, what do we agree with on here? It's a tough. All I can say to that is it's a tough thing to overcome, and it's probably going to take me a lot of time. I'm not gonna stop telling the truth. I'm not gonna stop being a conservative at any point. I've had this, unless I'm like completely proven wrong and completely had my mind changed on all these issues, at which point I'm going to follow what I believe is truthful. And even if that were fucking communism, I would do that. I just don't think I would ever be convinced to be a communist, and I don't think I would ever see those views as useful or productive.
Tough to guess. You never know.
Okay, I have gone through the whole mental process of thinking about what it would look like if I became a leftist, right? I know I could never do that artificially. I know people who have done it artificially that I talk to this day. And it's not an easy life to live. At the end of the day, you have to, you know, I have to live with myself. I have to live with my soul. I can't say things I don't believe in. I'm just not capable of it. And that has screwed me over in a lot of ways in my life. That has really put me in tough positions. Mm-hmm. But I can't fucking do it. I can't say things I don't believe in. And I've thought about if I were to become a lefty, and I think I'd make a very good lefty. I think I would do a good job. I thought about how I would portray myself, all these different things, just as a fun thought experiment. And I think, and you know, doing that as well helps me understand leftists a little more and where they're coming from. And those are little thought experiments I do. But you know, a lot of the criticisms you have of me and my approach are things that I have personally thought about a lot. But it's a tension. It's difficult to address these problems. And I've kind of decided at the end of the day, one of the best approaches is just talking about my views in action. Because I've seen so many people that try to do this switcheroo where they say, you know, I apologize for everything I've said. And even in that video I did where I was ambiguous with where I stood, if you do these apologies and you don't actually get deeply into your views and show you articulating them in debates and off the cuff and how you really feel, people will just be disappointed. I don't think this is my views, XYZ, I apologize for XYZ actually does anything. It's just one comment. It could be completely fake. It could be just made up to make sure you don't, you know, lose your platform or something. So I would like to think that people watching me in action, talking about my views, making new videos about them, having debates, that's how I want to do it.
Yeah.
That's how I want to do it.
No, like, so again, we've pointed out something that we know for sure won't work. So just saying, oh, I'm sorry, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. That's not going to work. But there is room in between, right? Like little things, like I said, with the having a montage, like one of the things you're trying to communicate to me right now, I've spent a lot of time watching more lefty people, and I'm going to continue to spend more time watching lefty people because I want to understand that side of things. You could have demonstrated that way better if in your video you had included like snippets from both sides, because what lefty people talk a lot about are the problems that conservative people have or conservative media has. So to have a complete absence of that communicates the opposite to people. And so it's little things like this that I think that you could change to get better at communicating the actual hard work that you're putting in behind the scenes, and to have a payoff for that and to begin to actually change people's minds. I think focusing on things that you know are not going to work isn't going to get you there. And you have to focus on like, where has it worked? What are good apology videos? Or like, what are these tours that actually work? Because a lot of people have certainly had that. And like, you know, I think looking at other success stories or looking at other ways that you could get better at communicating to those folks and really having them in mind when you're creating stuff, rather than I want to say what I want to say, right? Like getting away from that habit of saying what you want to say in exactly the way you want to say it. And like, how can I word this in a way where you're going to understand me? What are the terms that you understand? What are the things that you're sympathetic to? And how can I wrap this up in that to get you to see where I'm coming from, I think that's going to be like the move for you moving forward. And this video presents tons and tons of opportunities like that. This is just one small piece, but like all throughout here, if you meant to speak to that audience, it almost feels like you're not considering them in that video. And that's why that video, in my opinion, didn't change a lot of the minds of even reasonable people behind the scenes who I know watched the entire thing, because it's not doing the things that they were expecting it to do. And those expectations would have been things that like I think you could have understood by looking at past successes or by listening to the people who are criticizing you that are actually reasonable. But because I keep hearing about the unreasonable people that criticize you, I have an assumption, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how many people you talked to who had criticisms of you that you felt were reasonable. Like, did you do a lot of that before releasing the video?
Sorry, let me just think for a second, because there's a lot. I feel like some of the, I'm going to address that last question, don't worry. I feel like a lot of the things that or people in general, what you're articulating, people have an issue with me. What they're asking of me is too much. And you know why? Because I am incapable of playing a game. I'm incapable of apologizing for things I don't feel bad about. I'm incapable of...
Let's pause. Let's pause. Let's really pause. Yeah? Can we start with the answer so that I know if you were talking to reasonable people with reasonable expectations of you? Because we're already starting with like unreasonable expectations of you again.
Okay, so people with reasonable criticisms of me. Okay, so I have watched videos, and it's been a while. Like, I've watched video critiques of me from leftists of old videos I've made, and I've cringed because I've been like, oh my gosh, I got this fact wrong and that fact wrong, and they're totally right there, and holy shit, I need to totally reanalyze my approach. But to me, to me, doing the right thing is making a new video and proposing my new beliefs and my new views. And yeah, I'm trying. Okay, so for example, here's a big video I made a while ago on marriage. I was getting really annoyed with a lot of people, assuming when I talked about traditional marriage that they thought I was suggesting you have to get married right away at like 19 years old, otherwise you're like a degenerate. So I made a big video saying like, no, please wait for the right person. Please do like proper analysis. Promotion of conservative traditionalism doesn't mean get married the second to the first person you meet. Like, this is an absurd idea. And making a video like that instead of, I just don't think I could honestly make a video that was like apologizing for me not giving enough context here and there, because I don't like apology videos. I don't really feel bad for growing in my beliefs. I think lots of young people go through these problems in their head with politics. Where do I stand? You know, you're blind in a room and you're touching the walls of some extremes to try to figure out where you are and orientate yourself. And I don't really think people should have to apologize for that political journey. So
you don't think that, but we're not talking about what you want. Remember, what you want is very different.
Like I said, I can't do something just for other people. I have to really believe it myself. So what you're asking may be entirely reasonable. It may be the proper approach that I should take, but I have difficulty overcoming. The only difference between me and a lot of people's political journeys is that I had mine in the public eye from when I was a teenager. So when I look at other people that are like shitting on me, Lauren, you have to do this, you have to do that, and I know they were in my DMs 4 years ago, like spewing crazy, like farther right stuff than I've ever even said, and they're like, oh, but I'm different because, you know, actually, you know, to me, I do not feel that going through a political evolving online is something I should apologize for.
You don't.
I just don't feel like that. And you're right. Maybe it is something that a lot of other people feel. Maybe that is the case. But I can't do things just for other people. I can't. Maybe that's something I need to learn to do, but I can't. I can't do it.
Was this video just meant to be self-serving? Because my understanding was it was for those people, right? And if we want to build it for those people,
those are my honest beliefs. Those are my honest beliefs, though.
But remember,
my honest beliefs are.
You can give your honest beliefs.
I want to,
and you can make them rhetorically sound for people that they're meant for. Both of these can happen at the same time. I think there's some give on the ideal way that you want to word them, and obviously there's going to be, because the ideal way you want to do things, as we've learned, like does not mesh well with everybody all the time. And
you're not wrong. But does rhetorically sound to you involve saying things I don't believe is the question?
No. And that's why I asked, like, who have you talked to in your life that you feel is reasonable in their criticisms? And I can't, like, it sounds like we don't have a lot of those. Destiny is becoming one of them that I think you're trusting a lot more.
He is one of the few people that if he makes a criticism of me, I will honestly listen to it. In the political sphere anyways, I have family and friends, obviously, that I talk to all the time, but they're not in it with this world all the time. So if Destiny makes a criticism of me, I will know that he has probably actually looked into the information. There's a reason when people say Lauren shot immigrants with flares, Destiny won't be like, yeah, why did you do this? Because he actually cares about the factual information. So his critique I would take quite seriously.
Yeah.
And earnestly. Yeah.
It's just that, like, when I reach behind the scenes, I find reasonable people not saying that you shot flares at boats. I find people that say, oh man, hold on. I won't give examples because I don't want us to get into a back and forth on that.
Specific. Do you know Counterpoints?
Yeah, I like him.
His name's Connor. Yeah, so I appreciate his critiques of me. We have lots of conversations behind the scenes about rhetoric, and he is always like, Lauren, he says a lot of the things you do. He's like, you need to stop being a fucking troll. You need to not just piss people. We talk about this all the time. So I do have reasonable people that I talk to, and there's back and forth there, disagreements, agreements. But what you find reasonable in criticisms of me and what I find reasonable are going to be different as well. There are people I can respect and people that I can listen to. That doesn't mean I'm going to 100% accept their analysis without pushback. I don't think they'd respect me if I did that.
Right. And that's, to be clear, not what I'm asking. I just think you need to accumulate more of those people and then take the sum total of what they're saying. Because the other thing is, once you get a critical mass of those people that you trust and they're all saying one thing, even if you disagree with it, you have to invite this like extra sort of like step of, okay, 80% of the people that I trust, that I respect, are telling me that I fucked up here. Like, maybe I fucked up here. And if I did fuck up here, assuming that's true, what are the next steps from there? What do I have to do to rectify that wrong? And if you're fine with whatever the rectification is of that wrong, like you're like, oh, that's easy, I could do that. Like just correct like a stat in a video. Like I'm okay with that. I don't think I was wrong here, but if all it takes to be right is to correct the stat, I'm willing to compromise on that, right? There is compromise you can find once you talk to those people.
So this is interesting because I think behind the scenes, people that actually know me and have watched a lot of my content that are more on the left, like I have a lot of friends that are leftists that are just like, please don't say publicly, like, and I get it, I completely get it. When they actually look into my video, they're like, so for example, counterpoints, he's very reasonable. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Very reasonable guy. So he watched through all of my Great Replacement video, which is probably like one of my most controversial things online, right? And then he watched Sean Vid's criticism of it, and he was like, your video is actually quite mild, the things you said in it. It's really the public association and some of the optical things about it that made everyone freak out about it. Because the comments that are made in that actual video are, here's like the Pew Research on immigration data. Some of the data may be a bit off, but that happens in videos, and you're happy to address that. But the overall point is actually not that different from mainstream media assertions of mass immigration, demographic changes, all these things. And the assertion at the end, there was no assertion of a giant conspiracy or we need to get rid of brown people or anything like that. The assertion at the end is, should we consider the aspects that this could, and the impacts that this could have on culture? And counterpoints is like, okay, so I think you took a bad optical approach, and because of that, people have completely misunderstood the video, and part of that is your fault, Lauren. I think we should do a breakdown and analysis of this video today to do exactly what you basically said is, break down what is correct and what is incorrect, and go through it today in a modern context with someone like Counterpoints, who is very, I'd say, reasonably critical of me and would have questions for me. So we actually plan on doing that stream in like 2 weeks. We're just planning it out right now.
And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Just look for that. Or like, even better, find somebody who doesn't come away with the same opinion that Connor had, but is still somebody that you respect. Like if somebody else says, yeah, optically it's bad, I would agree with Counterpoints. But at the same time, like for me, listening to you talk about it in hindsight, about how all I did was Google it, search for this. I didn't know that this guy was associated with this and did this. Like, oh, well, that's a huge problem that people would focus on. And I know that you don't care about it, but like other people that I've talked to in the background most certainly do. And it's the same with this boat thing. You're focusing on like the dumbest criticism of it that is obviously false, because that's easy to like, well, of course, they're saying something didn't happen.
Criticize me. That's what people's main criticism is. They're the main one. I know, because I see it every day. And I see it from big creators, not just like random zero follower crazies, right? I have gotten that criticism from reporters at MSNBC, right? It's not like a small random crazy thing. It's the main criticism, and it's false. So of course, if I don't reactively reject that premise, then I'm going to be spending the whole time arguing on something that's false. I have to reject it before the conversation can continue.
You can, but you have to pair that with other stuff. You have to pair that with other concessions that are going to get the people that will listen to you onto your side. So you can say like, first of all, I want to get this out of the way. I didn't shoot a fucking flare at the boat. Don't say I shot a flare at the boat. You can say X thing that was bad that I did, and I see where you're coming from on that. You can say Y thing that was bad that I did. I do see that. I do see where you're coming from. You can say Z thing that I said that I did, that I did that was bad. I totally agree. But don't say that I fucking shot a flare at a boat, because it's on video. You can see that that's not the truth, and I'm sick of hearing it, right? Like there's a balance to things. And I think that working towards that balance is going to be rhetorically beneficial for you, and it's going to keep people listening, because they might go, oh, she's not being crazy about it. I mean, she knows that she fucked up in this way and this way and that way, and I definitely think that. And I guess I was wrong. She didn't really shoot flares onto a boat, but she did do these other things, and I don't like those other things. And at least she knows that. I'm going to keep listening, right? And then you keep them hooked, and then you get to like work through everything, right? It's give and take. You get to correct misinformation while also, and this is beneficial to you too, like getting people to like confronting the real criticism and people that aren't fucking crazy, right?
But in a lot of cases, even the reasonable lefties, their problem with me is something that I'm not going to be able to apologize for, because they think the problem inherently, like, fuck all the context with the boat and shit. They think the problem is that I'm against illegal immigration, and I still am. Like, I don't think those boats should be going through the Mediterranean. I think that people are drowning because of that, and they should probably have a policy similar to Australia, where they're like, no, you go through the proper refugee migrant process. Otherwise, we get increased drownings, illegal trafficking. We don't know who the people coming in are.
People drown if you don't rescue them when they fucking. I don't want to get into this argument with you, Lauren.
Okay, well, I really think people should look into the data on that, because there is a pull factor, and this is why Australia put the zero boats allowed in policy, because their drownings went down to zero when there was no more pull factor for traffickers. So there is a pull factor there.
But there's ways. You could have
advocated
for that, while like not stopping the boat that's going to save people from drowning, right? Like if your thing is you don't want them to drown, it doesn't start.
That's a complex question too.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. These are all complex, because was it a boat that was going to save people? Maritime laws are that if anyone is near a boat that is drowning, any ships out in the Mediterranean, you have to go and save them. NGO or not, you have to go and help them. And then when you follow maritime law, you have to take them to the closest port of safety. So why the Aquarius was under investigation and why it was ultimately shut down and impounded for illegal actions is, first of all, they were under investigation by the Italians for going on the coast and working as a trafficking service, not a rescue service. So instead of bringing them to the closest port in Libya and Morocco, they were accused of bringing them to Spain, which is clearly what was happening, or Spain or Italy. And then also the whole ship and operation was just operating illegally, which is why it was shut down. They were dropping toxic waste in the Mediterranean. I think it had like HIV on it. I think it was like tons of it, 10 tons of it. It was crazy.
10 tons of HIV.
So these were
that's crazy.
HIV infected like clothing and stuff.
I'm messing with you.
You can look this up. This is all 10 tons of HIV. They were dropping into the ocean. I tell you.
Awful. These fucking liberals.
So it's like a really complex issue that wasn't even okay. So I think that the criticism there, like people could approach it from a okay, so you've got these political views. The state is already investigating this vote. It's already taking the process to put into effect an investigation and arrest it for its illegal behavior. Do you partake in vigilante actions then? Should you, as a political activist, partake in vigilante actions when you don't feel the state is fulfilling the role that it should and the laws that it should put in place? That, I think, is a very interesting question compared to you shot flares at a vote.
One that you tried to debate on that most recent panel that I watched of yours, right, about vigilante justice. But to transition off of this, because again, I don't want to argue with you about the immigration stuff.
I'm just, can you accept that that may be a better framing?
It's a much better framing, right? But it's not a video of you on a boat stopping people from rescuing, drowning, like the way that it can optically be perceived with the video.
The way that you're portraying it, yes.
Right, the way it can be perceived.
Ignores so much of the context.
Yes,
and the context is important. It is.
And you let people do that.
Yes or no answer.
Right, and we want to learn how to like not give people those footholds to have those negative perceptions. And one of those would have probably not been to go out on the boat and do it in that way and film it in that way, right? Like this is what I mean by making optical decisions. Like you can believe in that thing, and I think there's better ways you could advocate for the problems that you're seeing. It's just sometimes you take like a really optically bad strategy and you're going to get in trouble, like Counterpoints was telling you, right? Now,
do you think that I have a question for you really quick, and it's not an aggressive question.
Okay.
I'm very curious, to what degree can people have conviction and not just be like milk toast, trying to appeal to everyone and not allow for any footholds to the other side to accuse them of saying things they don't believe? Like, what is that balance between giving footholds and having conviction? Because, if you have too much conviction, you're probably going to give a lot of footholds to the other side. But if you have no conviction, then what the fuck are you doing?
Right. You find in the space in between and you explore that more and more, and then you compare that with what you get out of it, right? There's being too milquetoast and just like flowery and never saying anything that upsets anybody. Then there's being too fucking harsh and being too fucking honest and doing things that are obviously going to be bad for both you and your cause. And somewhere in betwixt those is where you want to find yourself. But definitely getting away from this side where you've been for a while, that is going to be what you're working on. But I don't think, knowing just what I know about you from this conversation and watching a bunch of your debates, I don't think you're ever going to get to the milquetoast side. So it's probably never worth worrying about. I don't think you're ever going to end up there.
Thanks. That's good to know.
Yeah. So I think worrying about the other half of moving between like brutal honesty where you're going to get in trouble.
Hold on, I'm going to get more food. 1 second. Wait, here. I'm going to play donuts while I get food. 1 sec.
Fucking dubstep.
/raid. That's tiny. /raid. That's tiny.
E wins.
Stop stuffing your fat fucking mouth.
You're a fucking statistician.
Stepan.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mouton Frown, I still love you though. Scott Bradley MC, $4.99. Mooty Mooty Pug Pog.
You're a fucking statistician.
Hey Destiny.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
Please start reviewing Tucker Carlson content.
Thank you, Steven.
Radicalize me, ooh. Not a debate, Pepe laugh, not a debate, Pepe laugh, not a debate, Pepe laugh.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
I heard Richard Spencer wants to make an apology tour. You should reach out, ye laugh.
Because I'm putting 100%
equals. Agmar, $5. Yo.
Stop stuffing your fat fucking mouth.
F you.
Thank you, Steven.
He's gonna kill me again. Shut the fuck up, Mutin, alright? It's a stupid fucking meme. Stop stuffing your fat fucking mouth.
Do you ever feel like an NPC in like someone else's life?
Dylan is gay lol.
Shut the fuck up, Mutin, alright? It's a stupid fucking meme.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
Okay. Do you think Booksmarts is going to get fucked by DGG today and every other community? Uh-oh. Oh shit, who raided me? Oh, earlier Mr. Mooten did. Who raided me earlier though? Oh fuck, Barbie and 9. I need to help her with her camera shit. Fuck.
Fucking dubstep.
Oh, and Cherry sub too. Thanks, bud. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. We're still like 30 or 26 minutes behind. I don't know if they've stopped talking yet or not, but
trouble and like, you know, in the middle where you can make your ideas more palatable, that's where to focus. I don't think you'll ever get that far, to be honest.
Okay, I've got another question for you then, and this is a big one. So let's say that I take your advice.
Oh, also, so I'm still getting back into the swing of this game. I think you need stress relief. I don't think heal is enough. I think you need a person on your team that can that can relieve stress as well. Fuck just healing. Jesus.
And I'm like, all right, I gotta really work to be more palatable. I gotta really work to try to. And guys, I am really trying right now, and I'm sorry that really trying is like, what the fuck are you doing, Nazi Queen? But right now, I am really trying to try to understand lefties and speak in a way where I'm accurately portraying my beliefs so that they aren't misinterpreted. And that is my responsibility to a degree. It is. And I'm working on that. But let's say that I was so good at employing the tactics you are recommending to be rhetorically effective and get across what I mean effectively to people who disagree with me. Won't they just say I am mask on?
Yeah, we see this problem with some creators in the space, one of which man, can I just name drop? I mean, like, there are definitely creators like I think Vosh is somebody that often gets this criticism word for word, that he has a mask on when he's in conversations with people where he doesn't want to come off bad to an audience that is going to perceive him poorly, right? Like, there are definitely creators that hit this point where they're getting dangerous with it and people start to pick up on it, and then they're dishonest and people are not going to listen to them for this reason or that reason. But at the same time, you suffer the same consequence at the other end when you're so honest that you trigger the BS meter of somebody, or that you like go past where they can humanly give you compassion and empathy and whatever. You hit these like, you know, litmus tests for them, then they stop listening too. So you hit the same problem on both the ends. But because we're way closer to this end, I think we just have to worry about getting that middle ground, and I don't think you'll overextend and go the other way. And if you do, people will tell you, and then all of a sudden the crazies that just disregard everything that you say they're striking a different tune. It's not your beliefs, it's like a lack of truth in your beliefs. It's like, you know what, this lady just says whatever just to like get past people. I don't fucking like that, right? And you'll start to pick up on that. And that's why I think even listening to the crazy people can be helpful. Do the crazy people hate me because I'm being too fucking honest and brutal in my ideas and I'm not being compassionate, or do the crazy people hate me because they can never trust anything I say because they think that I mask on all the time and that I'm not like being truthful? And like in both these cases, they can start to point you in the direction of where you need to move. Like, I need to start being more truthful. I guess that means taking positions that are going to be like optically not sound for me, right? Like, bite the bullet, be wrong, stuff like that. The solutions are totally different for somebody over there. And yeah, so I think those are problems that are similar on both sides of that. Does that answer, or did I?
That's fair. You got to. Yeah, I don't think you were asserting this, but you know, will the crazies hate me on one side or the other? Obviously, I don't think we should allow the crazies to dictate where we are and what we believe and what we perceive. But yeah, I think living in the tension is absolutely something that I believe we need to do in most aspects of our life. There's never going to be this yes or no, black and white answer, and a lot of people want that, but suck that just isn't there. Yep. Was there any other? You know, we've got about 25 minutes left of the conversation. Is there any other big things that you wanted to hit on or chat about?
Yeah.
Or grill me on. I feel like I'm in trouble at the principal's office. And I'm like, ooh.
Everybody that gets
write lines.
Everybody.
People bad. I'll write 10,000 pages. When
I talk with people, it's often like that because I do the rhetorical stuff, and I'm like, you can do better, and like, I believe in you, and like there's some people I really hate that say shit that like, oh, you shouldn't give her rhetorical advice. You're going to help her fucking impregnate people with bad ideas or something. Like, no, I'm going to help her not like be completely ostracized from the other side of the ideas. If you think your ideas are palatable on the other side of things, the better that she's able to communicate and listen and everything else, the better she's going to be able to mellow the fuck out. Because I really do think the more that you talk to lefty people and you're charitable to them, the more you'll mellow the fuck out on your points, because you'll start to understand like, where the other side is coming from.
No
and you'll
way.
see like, oh, okay, so like you believe that, I believe this. If I could Thanos snap like either one, maybe I'm picking different sides for different issues. And because of that, I'm starting to understand that I'm going to be limited by like practically what's possible in different countries, and an in-between is going to be where I fall instead of like on either ideological, like, you know, I think you're going to move, you know, whether you want to or not more, the more that you talk to those people and the more that they become trusted folks that you go to for that, and the more that you understand them. So, if I had something else,
something there.
Yeah,
Sorry, before you move on, I do find it very funny that there is this like massive perception on Twitter, definitely like DGG or Destiny's subreddit and just Twitch sphere in general, where they're like, Lauren is trying to secretly get her claws into Twitch to try and move everyone to right wing. And that's, I mean, I joke about it online where I'm like, I've breached the gates, I've entered Twitch, but really I just want people to consider the points I'm making from a factual perspective. Whereas I've noticed from all the other people who talk to me, they all talk to me like, I can fix her, I can make her more left wing, I can draw her to, and it's like actually projection. A lot of the Twitch spheres, from a lot of the Twitchers that are talking about me, they all want to drag me to be more like them, whereas I'm like, let's just talk about the facts. Maybe I will. Maybe you'll convince me. Maybe you'll say something that I find really compelling. I will change beliefs. But I am not coming in here for that purpose to say, all of you people, you need to become more like me. I want to present interesting facts and ideas to counter narratives I believe are false. But if you don't want to become right wing, I don't give a shit.
And like, I'll jump on the spike here, because like this is something I made the mistake of slipping on rhetorically when I was talking to Destiny. Is I was like, I'd like to like build some rapport with Lauren, or at least like communicate to her that I'm not one of the crazy people that's just like judging her in really stupid ways or saying things that is just like flat out misinformation, because I want to be the one of the people that could like convince her of some of these points. He's like, be careful with that. It's not convincing her of these points. If you want to say something like that, I think the better way to say it is like to be a better advocate for the other side, or to show her like those points in a way that's like palatable to her. And like whether she accepts it or not is outside of my control, and it's not exactly my goal, but like to get you to understand these things in a charitable way, to where you can like have some understanding of why people arrive at those conclusions, and then you can offer yours to me if you still think they're better. And I can be like, oh, okay, so people are like invested in conservative ideas for this reason and this reason. I can understand that. And then I get to chew on that and think about how I can better convince those people, or if I need to move my position, right? Like, and this is what I love about optics and about considering rhetoric, is I think it has a necessary like effect on your ideas as well, because the more that you need to be more palatable to the other side, or understand them and listen better, which is the other half of it, like the more close to truth you'll fall, because in doing so you'll be like, no dude, you can't fucking
Ready? Hot take coming out about something I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about this, okay? This is 2021 Boomer Steve. I'm about to give you a boomer take, okay? Because it's about something I don't know, don't understand, and I'm gonna be really judgmental. If I ever went over to a friend's house and I logged into their router and I started searching through their internet traffic, and I saw that they had anything to do with any of these fucking HoloLive girls, I would ghost that friend forever and never talk to him again. And I would tell everybody else that that person is a sad, desperate fucking loser. And I would just absolutely leave them. I don't know anything about this HoloLive shit. This is all I've gathered as seeing it pop up on Reddit every now and then. What is it? I don't know. Here's my boomer take. HoloLive is like this group of like internet 3D like VTuber girls that are unironically becoming like idols to people that watch them like live stream. So instead of K-pop and like J-pop and all these stars, now there's like, it's like a HoloLive. It's like a group of virtual girls that all act like virtual like anime girls that people become obsessed with. It's like weeb shittery taken to like unhealthy levels. Degenerate. Also, wait, real quick. Fuck. Can somebody tell me again, what items do I need on this first quest? It's always the same ones, and I always forget. Okay, sorry, go back.
Say that because it's fucking crazy. I remember being there where you think you could just like do this and this and it's going to work out that way, but that's not how it is. And if you listen to the people on the other side, you'll figure out it's not how they're saying it either, but like there's a place in between. And as you explore that and test that more, your ideas will change too, because you'll find some things are untenable. And if things are untenable, when we have so many democratic societies, like we need to be more attentive to what both sides are thinking, because the practical reality is that we're only going to ever land on something where we can get enough people to vote on it. And you're always restricted in places by that. So you always have to contend with what the other side is thinking.
Yeah.
So
and I'll tell you right now, I do have a lot of... Oh, sorry. Quick response. I promise. I know. I'll give it extra 10 minutes. No,
Destiny, it's literally no different than watching Dr. Disrespect. The girls are incredibly entertaining to watch and have fun adventures and just wholesome and fun in general. Me and most people that watch them are not obsessed or weebs. It's just most normal entertainment. I'm not gonna lie, man. And I might just be boomer. I'm booming. I'm telling you I'm booming. That it feels like it's gotten closer and closer every day to that picture of the smiling anime girl who's holding the noose. And like inside the noose, you see like the anime lands. And it's like, I'm so close. I can see it. I can feel it. That's what it feels like to me. But I don't know. That's just me. Last time I checked, I didn't log into Dr. Disrespect's stream to wink when out. No, you misunderstand. I don't think that, like, it's about jerking off to these girls. If it was just Coomer shit, that's different. I'm okay with that. It's more than that. It's like living the fantasy that, like, these anime girls are real. It's like it's a whole other different level of stuff, okay? It's not a sexual thing. You need 1 shovel, 2 if you want to break the cabin, a key, and 2 food checks, so 8 food minimum. Okay. It's only going to be 1 food check, because I'm a god, I know that. So, 2 shovels, a key. Oh, fuck, I'll bring 4 more food just in case. Okay, so that's all I need, right? Can you point out the difference between VTube? I think the VTube shit is kind of weird. Is HoloLive like Code Miko? No, Code Miko at least like high efforts or shit. Okay, sorry.
I do have a lot of respect for you. I think you have engaged with me as a human being. I think that you're very thoughtful, and I could have a conversation with you where you could probably convince me of things. I believe that. Convince me of things that, or at least the ability to see things from your perspective, because I think you approach things from a honest and logical approach. That definitely considers optics more than I do, which is something I need in my life. I need to understand that better, so I respect this. I respect this conversation. I just think a lot of people, when they talk about it, and this isn't necessarily just you or all you, I see it all the time whenever people mention this, I can fix her, I can drag her my way. I see it as very patronizing. I'm like, I am a human being with my own mind. A lot of you talk to me like I am a creature that you can train to be one way or the other, and that's not going to work. That's still, it's weird to me.
Yeah. And not seeing like that dimension that it is patronizing kind of like goes back to that rape culture thing. Some men don't see that certain behaviors like have an effect, like, oh, that's sexual harassment. I would have never, like, yeah, I do that and I didn't even.
What's the difference in having a similar parasocial relationship with you? Get your mom or sister to damn me and I'll respond right away, okay? I'm a real person. You get to me, okay? You just gotta use your mom to do it.
Fucking think how uncomfortable that would make somebody. Like, I think there's a lot of stuff like that, and that's why I appreciate being open to criticism and stuff. Like hearing that both from Destiny and from you, like, makes me rethink that. And now I'm gonna have like a mental thing where I'm gonna catch myself saying that and be like, hold on, you're not trying to convince like this other person to be that way. You're gonna have a conversation with them, and what happens because it's 2 very independent people. What you can do is do your best to listen and to communicate your side, and what happens is outside of your control. You know, I don't know. Do you believe in God or?
I'm a Christian, yeah.
Okay, like I would say that it's in God's hands at that point. Like you can do the best with your agency, the other person can do the best with theirs, but what happens is it's up to God. And people are going to troll me about that, but that's honestly what I think. So we have 2 different things we could do. One is going to be optically bad for you, so, or it may be, depending on how good you are at it.
Let's hear it.
And the other one could be just another like rhetorical like thing that I'm curious about, and I also want to know if that's something you're willing to change. So which one do you want to do?
Honestly, I've had to realize something I've needed to do publicly is I need to speak in person. I need to address people's concerns with me face to face and not do all of these prepped videos. So I am not concerned about being confronted on anything. I have nothing to hide. So it's totally up to you. Whatever you think would be more productive, more interesting, whatever you're most curious about.
Okay.
I don't care if it's optically bad for me. I'm not.
Good. Then I'll not do the optically bad one because I don't really care for that. One thing that you do. So you'll, in Spanish, there's this phrase that's like, if you start swinging with the monkeys, you will become one, or people will perceive you as one. You'll start looking like a monkey to everybody on the ground. And I think that like a problem that you have is you are a moderate conservative. I will take you at your word that that's what you are, and that's what you say every time that you're asked. You've been consistent about that through as far back as I could look into videos about you. And you don't believe me, but I did watch a lot of your videos prior to this. Like, you've always like kept that label, you know, through thick and thin, through doing the projects that you did in Europe versus now. Like you've always held true to that. But you were swinging with monkeys for a bit there, and now you're swinging with lefties for a bit here, a different breed of monkey. I think it might be interpreted like depending on whichever group you're hanging out with. Is this something that you ever consider, or is this like a phenomenon that you picked up on? And if so, like moving forward with rhetoric and optics, like is it something that you're looking to address or change at all?
I think it is very easy to become the people you hang around with, absolutely. And that is also part of the reason that I did want to come on Twitch and hang around more lefties, because I want to make sure that I can go in and out of 2 different worlds and stay the same, and that I'm consistent. Because that means I actually believe in what I say, and I'm not just swayed by crowds. I think that's super, super important. And also that when I say I want to be able to go in and out of, I mean the real world too. Taking a year break from politics and being like, am I terminally online, and are my opinions just taking place because I've got all of this constant political feedback and content coming into my brain from what I subscribe to. Absolutely, I think that's dangerous, and I think it impacts you. And I think
Hey. I saw somebody say this. Somebody was trying to give credit to Forsen's community for clip it and ship it. That's my saying, right? I'm almost positive that I was the first one to start saying that, right? Clip it and ship it? Clip it and ship it, boys. I am Forsen was the first one? No fucking way. We need to go back in time and we need to find the very first instance of that. I am absolutely the origin of clip it and ship it. Clip it and ship it, boys.
Become a lot more sympathetic to rhetorical and human arguments and, rejecting the facts only dichotomy that the right has. Facts. Someone started mowing their lawn.
I don't hear it.
Okay, I'm closing the window. Oh no. I can hear it and it's pissing me off.
Careful, you're not wearing proper pants.
I'm holding my volleyball shorts all the way down for you pervs, and I'm gonna go close the window.
Oh no.
Oh no, she's becoming a true Twitch streamer. Look at that. Tisk, tisk, tisk.
You know what? It probably didn't matter because my feet got in the shot anyways.
You're getting good at Twitch there.
Doing my best. What was I saying? All right, when you swing with monkeys, you become them. Yeah, so going in the real world a bit, I did notice entering the real life.
Booksmarts just got 2,000 more viewers. Sorry guys, this is 25 minutes in the past.
Very strange place. I did notice there were habits that I got online of how I interacted with people that were totally fucking insane compared to how I interact with people in the real world. I went to a feminist womb circle with a few of my girlfriends and really enjoyed it. It was like a hardcore feminist thing where people just talked about how the moon, our periods cycle up with the moon and shit, and we talked about our problems as women. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great event.
That's rad.
Like talking to people face to face and doing that. I also got to understand a lot of how feminists act online, because some of these girls had horrific stories, like just sobbing there with us and talking about how like their husband left them when they were in the hospital having a baby, and like that fucking trauma, like the anger that you're going to let out when you talk about these political issues with men and women, that's going to be coming from a deep place of like deep personal scars. And yeah, that's an important dichotomy to understand. And if you aren't able to enter all these worlds and understand them, the real world, the left-wing world, the right-wing world, because those are all fake, then I don't think you're going to ever have a proper analysis. You're going to be looking at one part of the picture instead of the whole picture where you can judge it and analyze it properly. And if looking at the whole picture scares me, that would only be because I was afraid it would disprove my worldviews. That would only be, and I saw this with some conservatives I really didn't like. They're like, no, just never watch lefty content. They're all stupid and dumb. And I was like, but that's what they do to us, and that's why they think we're all Nazis. Like, they just don't watch it.
Destiny 2016. Clip it and ship it, boys. Is there an earlier one in Forsen's stream? The 2016. Wait, first mention in Forsen's chat is in 2018. Thank you. I knew I invented that. Clip it and ship it is my meme, okay? I invented it. I remember saying it. I feel like I remember the first time I said, all right, clip it, boy. We're going to clip it and ship it, boys. Thank you. Fucking A.
And assume that. They assume they already have the whole picture when they don't. So, people think that politics changes or people's minds change in a year. Dude, maybe I will be a lefty in 10 years. I don't think I will be, but if I were to become one, it would take 10 years. I'll tell you right now, I don't fucking believe anyone who becomes a lefty overnight. It's bullshit. They're lying to you. They want to get a job. They're tired of, I literally look at some of these de-radicalization sites where it's like, speak the language. I can have a job. Otherwise, you're setting someone up for failure. So that was the project I spent the most money on, which was very humanizing of migrants. But the thing is, none of my critics watch it. And that was 3 years ago. So to be like, Lauren's had this sudden change, like, no, I've slowly changed my views with information and grown in my observations. But if people don't watch it, I mean, Borderless has over 1 million views. It's just not the people that hate me that are watching this, unfortunately. But a lot of people watch that. And I can genuinely say I've probably done fucking more to de-radicalize the far right and see immigrants as human than any of these leftists who just scream at them and say,
would make somebody like, I think they're
world, because those are all fake. And I don't think you're going to ever have a proper analysis. You're going to be looking at one part of the picture instead of, the whole picture where you can judge it and analyze it properly. And if looking at the whole picture
we're close
scares me, that would only be because I was afraid it would disprove my worldviews. That would only be, and I saw this with some conservatives I really didn't like. They're like, no, just never watch lefty content. They're all stupid and dumb. And I was like, but that's what they do to us, and that's why they think we're all Nazis. Like, they just don't watch it and assume that. They assume they already have the whole picture when they don't. So, people think that politics changes or people's minds change in a year. Dude, maybe I will be a lefty in 10 years. I don't think I will be, but if I were to become one, it would take 10 years. I'll tell you right now, I don't fucking believe anyone who becomes a lefty overnight. It's bullshit. They're lying to you. They want to get a job. They're tired of, I literally look at some of these de-radicalization sites where it's like, sign up and get de-radicalized today. And I'm like, that is a Nazi job hunting agency. Because no one changes their views to left-wing overnight. They might as well put a swastika up in their office.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I were to become a lefty one day, sorry, people that want to slowly or drag me to the left, it would take me 10 years because I actually really fucking consider and think about my views and would have to really, really think about that. And I have a lot of beliefs about the world that I would have to unpack over time.
Yep, you're a stubborn Nazi, and it's not going to happen overnight. Alrighty. Well, should I let you go? You got other stuff going on?
We've got 10 more minutes, actually. I mean, if you had any more questions, we can do that. Or maybe I can ask you a question.
Either or. Do you have anything in particular burning a hole in your brain there?
I have two. One, what are your politics, like spark notes? Do you have like a political, I know you like to kind of stay neutral and just analyze people's perspectives from your autistic perspective, which I respect. We're all on the spectrum somewhere if you're on online politics. But what are your actual politics, spark notes?
So I don't know if I have politics because it's always depending on what's on the ballot. Like I've attended Trump rallies. I've attended Bernie barn bust things. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't know. I've been to a lot of different political events in real life, so it's tough to judge on that. Every time the ballot comes in, I just read whatever I have the opportunity to vote on, and then I go, okay, well that doesn't seem like it's very good at all, or this seems like it's all right, or well I don't have any good option here. I'm just like not going to fill this in. So I'm not a super political guy, which makes it easier to like watch these conversations because it's like now if I could Thanos snap something, Lauren. This is very different. I would Thanos snap the socialism shit because that would, if that can work, that sounds perfect. Everybody gets a house, everybody gets food, everybody gets water. Everything is the state. We don't have to worry about shit. We can all be poets, like for sure. Boom. Like free immigration, go everywhere. I can go to any country that I want, and if I like it there, I can live there. And there's no housing shortage. Like that sounds like utopia. Sign me up, But I think the practicality is more so what I focus on when I do political stuff, and I try not to go into philosophy too much.
Curious. You say these problems are complex, but when I say it's complex, it's like people need answers, Lauren.
Rhetoric, optics. You got to say it right.
You should watch my latest video on Charles Fourier. He wanted to do that Thanos snap.
Oh man, Booksmarts is gonna get destroyed for this. Oh god, poor Booksmarts. Booksmarts is about to get his real introduction to online politics.
Of socialism and had some very fun ideas. Have you ever heard of Charles Fourier? He's like one of the founders of socialism.
I watched a little bit of it, but then you were not being very palatable to lefterly people, and you were talking shit on socialism, so I clicked out. You lost me.
Listen, you got to watch the whole thing. It gets palatable. It does, I promise.
Like all of your content. I got to watch the whole thing, but you do not make it easy, okay?
You do. I even shit on Nazis in it. You'll like it. Just watch it to the end, all right?
Okay.
But no, he perceived a society where we had mandatory hot priests that would have sex with incels, big titty priest GFs for free. Unless you didn't live in the commune, then you had to pay for them. And you got to pick them by personality type. It was pretty, and the oceans were going to be limited. So I know. And we would have whale chariots. And we would send all the Jews to the Middle East on the whale chariots. So that was he thought a bit weird.
Well, at least you got to that part of it with him because you missed that like little detail when you were doing your other video about the great replacement shit, right? Here's a question that's more human. Do you ever feel drained by discussing politics? And in particular, like the issues that you've chosen to advocate for on the side that you've chosen to advocate for them?
Yes. I think that I remember getting to a point, and I really hated this, where I felt like I was just going through the motions, and it's like, well, time to make another video criticizing feminism. And that was one of the 10,000 compounding factors of why I took a break. I'm like, this is useless. There's nothing. I'm like, fucking why? This is, just fast food for people who agree with me. Which is why when I came back, I'm like, no, like I have to do something useful. I have to actually, if I want to be involved in politics, I don't just want to be I hate this. I hate the word grifter. I hate it because I find it so often just like thrown at literally anyone who makes money in politics. It doesn't even matter if you're doing good or bad. You're all just grifters. But genuinely on a deep level, I didn't want to just do that. I want to do something that's productive. So even conversations like this.
As a follow-up to that, I know you love making documentaries. You clearly like making videos to some extent in the abstract. The topic is really what affects it. Why don't you ever choose to cover stuff that's not politics? Why continue to cover politics and political issues in particular as opposed to other stuff that you love?
I've thought about that, but I don't. Okay, here's one aspect. I like my online political world to just be about politics because I know how insane political people are, and I don't want them to seep into the rest of my life. They can have this part of me. They can have this politically passionate Lauren. You don't get to have the Lauren that likes cooking. You don't get to have the Lauren that likes brewing wine. You don't get to have the camping Lauren. You don't get to have the Lauren that enjoys her family and friends, the mom Lauren. You don't get to have that Lauren. That's not for you people. You get the politics Lauren, and that's it. That's for me. That's for my real life.
Okay, here's a follow-up then to that. If you could like Thanos snap, like make reality, a reality in which you had the same amount of people that followed you, but instead of following you for your political takes, they followed you for content about the things that you love, would you snap that into reality? Would you go back and do it that way?
Yeah.
Do you think there's ever going to be a day in the future where there's enough like dying down of the hate and a lot less crazies to where you'll be able to invite some more of what you love into your content, or no?
No, I'm a realist. I don't believe that. I think that sadly, my family, I can't get into this because, like I said, I make sure to have very real, clear lines. But, you know, my family are in danger, unfortunately, already. And it's been, like, it's terrifying that the conversations I have to have are always so, like, holy shit, is someone going to, you know, find out where we live? Holy shit, is someone going to do X, Y, Z, dox us? And these things like that have already happened. You know, I have notes left on my car outside my house. So, no, I don't think there'll ever be a world like that. And even if we got so close to that point, the idea of one person, even just one person being on the fringes, is just too dangerous. The amount of times that people don't see that I have interactions with the police, that I've had to get like restraining orders, that I get, like I had someone that was flying to Canada and the police had to get his schedule and had made threats against me and was coming just to find me, and they stopped him at the border and were able to question him, and that took, and they found out he had all of these other restraining orders for women, and they were able to stop him. But like, imagine if I weren't so on top of that, like watching, making sure he didn't come and actually find me and my family, and he's not allowed in the country now because of those intentions that he had. So it's just, it sucks. That's just the reality, and I'm very much a realist. I don't think that'll ever change.
Like, man, that's kind of sad. Like, I'm still kind of reeling back from that. That's sad to think about. Because I wonder, like, oh man, the universe in which you like never did politics and you just did a bunch of cute shit that you actually liked. Like, I wonder what that reality would look like for you.
Think about that too. You can, if anyone wants to see that. Actually, no, I'm not going to do this. My sister, I won't tell you her channel, but my sister is a big Twitch person. She's a huge Twitch personality, and she just does what she loves. And she's a total like hippie, amazing and cutesy world. And it's like we are such two different worlds. She's like, you know, what's that thing from Stranger Things? The two worlds that they are. What's the lower one called?
Oh fuck, I don't remember.
Yeah, the upside down. Yeah, my sister's like off, like living her life, doing what she loves on Twitch, and then I'm in the fucking upside down. There's an aspect of me that does love and enjoy this, absolutely, and I do have a very, I got a weird enjoyment out of, like, I like reading studies, I like doing that shit, so it's not all terrible, but politics is definitely a dark world.
Yeah. What rhetorical approaches, arguments, or people on the left have you found like effective to you in particular?
What people on the left are effective?
Or arguments or approaches, yeah. Like, I really like the way this guy talks about stuff. I may not agree with him, but I love the way he talks about it. Even something like that.
I liked Zizek's debate with Peterson. I thought he did very well in that, you know, making points about, like, great, we...
Dude, Peterson did not. I don't think... Didn't Peterson just, like, read the fucking Communist Manifesto, like, the night before? I don't know why he didn't prepare for that.
Clean our room. That doesn't really matter if wider society is broken. You really think some random North Korean cleaning his room and getting his life in order is going to help change his life if there's an oppressive regime he's living under? So I think there's some really interesting arguments you can take from leftists that I enjoy. I actually have started, people will probably know this because one of my last debates was with a manosphere guy where I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? So I follow a lot of feminist voices that I listen to, and I disagree with them on so much, but they do every once in a while have these nuggets where I'm like, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting analysis of gender dynamics. Like, one thing this is why I hate people asking me about what have your views changed, because in a lot of cases it's like little analysis of a wider problem, and it'll be like one thing here and there that I've adjusted. So like, I believe in power dynamics. I think we really need to be careful about power dynamics. I don't think power dynamics is a rape culture. So on the wider level, I'm like, oh, still doesn't change the whole idea there. But like a man or a woman having a job and telling their secretary you should do so, or being the boss and telling their secretary, hey, you should come over and go on a date with me, that is going to create a pressure of, am I going to lose my job if I say no? And we need to talk about these dynamics that happen in our culture. And I think we need to do it on a rational, reasonable level so that we don't push people away from that conversation. So like little things like that, or immigration, that was a big one where I was like, actually, these people are victims of a corrupt system as well. Like, it's not all these fucking invaders. Like, come on, people. But because my usual conclusion still remains the same, which is I still am not for illegal immigration, or I still think feminism has a lot of issues and there's a lot of man hatred there, and I think that their analysis of data on the wage gap and stuff is wrong. People don't care about these little changes that I make in my ideology, even if I get a lot of hate from right-wingers for making those changes. People don't care. So I'm like, all right, I'll believe what I believe and I'll make the analysis I think is correct, and that's that.
And like, you measure like kind of part of the impact or like the magnitude of the impact of these changes by like how much it makes people on your side really dislike you and how incongruent it is with their thinking. And I think because people in general have this problem of not being able to listen to others or not understanding where they're coming from, they often miss that, right? Like, they're not thinking of like, what is this person going through to say what they're going to say? Like, whether you believe Hunter Avalon or not, that he's moved over and he's trying to do stuff differently, I think it is worthy of considering what he gave up to come public with this and what he's given up to continue making videos like this. So whether you believe him or not, there is a cost there that I don't see people really like mention or give like a lot of thought to. And similarly here, like, these little course corrections and how you're thinking about something invite enough nuance that it's like the other side that is your side, like, is going to jump on that. And they're like, no, that's a huge change. Like, no, I can't believe that, whatever. And like, that's part of your reality and how you measure the magnitude of it. And I think people miss that a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's a very poignant analysis, I think, accurate analysis. Something that most people probably wouldn't realize. So my audience right now that I have on YouTube, I mean, your audience probably will hate them. I think they've become such a good sphere of reasonable people. And that's because compared to what, right? So when I did that video coming back, once again, probably something none of you guys would notice, I lost 200,000 followers on YouTube. Jesus. Like that, just saying I'm going to consider other perspectives. And I was like, that was like,
is that actually true?
I was like, fuck You guys, you're literally so afraid of hearing other. I haven't said that I'm a left winger. I haven't said that I'm a centrist. All I've said is I want to consider other perspectives. If you are so threatened in your ideology that you don't want to hear other perspectives, that's all I'm presenting, then you aren't actually a conservative because you don't know what it means because you've never heard the other side. And you're 3 YouTube videos away from becoming a communist because you've never actually had your beliefs challenged and had to critically think about whether they're accurate in, when it's been in contest with those challenged other ideas. So I want an audience that are willing to have their ideas challenged, that are willing to take up that battle and see which idea wins out. And so I was like, man, that sucks. That's crazy. That's really disappointing. But awesome. I've got an audience that are going to be more reasonable about considering both perspectives now. And I only really noticed this like a month or 2 ago when I did a video on the church burnings. And I was just talking about, I did get some facts wrong about the mass graves stuff that I've been correcting and I'm still working to correct because I just assumed absolutely these were mass graves when it's looking like that isn't necessarily the case. So I'm going through the data there. But I talked about the fact that there were issues at residential schools and there were horrific things that happened at residential schools and then got into the fact that, but it's still horrific to burn down churches. And my audience all took that very well. They were like, yep, absolutely agree with that. And then I went on the Daily Wire and I did an interview about it. And the initial comments, some of them were like, Lauren, you think teaching natives to not behead each other is a bad thing? Like talking about the residential schools. And I was like one of the top comments. I was like, where did this come from? I do think Daily Wire removed those comments, not wanting the crazies there either. But I was like, these are the people that probably unsubbed for me. These are the people that probably left. And I would like to hope they would come back and consider my perspective. But yeah, you guys, like I said, the far leftists see no difference. They don't see any of that.
No. They can't see the gradient on the other side. They don't see the spectrum in the other half that they don't pay attention to. And like, oh man, there's so much I could get into there. But a question that I'll ask is, did it concern you at all to see that you had accumulated these sorts of people that were so uncritical of these ideas? And all it took was a video that, quite honestly, was still kind of meant to serve like a conservative slant. It was still meant to serve a conservative audience. It still had that effect. Like, does that worry you at all? Does that like make you think about the kind of content you were producing before and the people that it's attracted, or not particularly?
It was super disappointing, absolutely, because I was like, conservatives are facts and logic people. They're, we look at the facts and the reality. We don't have these emotional reactions to literally just being told we're going to look at both sides. So that was disappointing. And yeah, perhaps I have trouble judging whether it's because, okay, so here's one thing. I talked to Destiny publicly about this as well, where when you see a cultural shift that is going one way and you feel the need to criticize it. So I felt the need to criticize the mainstream media left, and I'm like, they're getting away with way too much. I am not going to focus my time on stating things that I agree with leftists on when I feel that's already being stated publicly all the time, constantly. I'm going to focus my efforts on just criticizing what the left are wrong about publicly to try to reduce that imbalance of scales. And in doing such, people assume, and in some cases, maybe accurately, because that's all they see from me, that I have no beliefs that match up or no sympathies with some leftist problems with the world and analysis of the world, because I spend all my time just making right-wing perspective criticisms of them, since I felt that was important to do. And you're seeing this happen with Destiny right now, where he actually hasn't changed that much in beliefs, but when he was arguing with the right all the time in debates, it was Destiny is a far leftist cuck freak, this, that, and now he's arguing with leftists on Twitch and showing where they're wrong, and people are like, Destiny is a fascist, racist, this, that, and the other, when he hasn't really changed his beliefs that much. But it also shows the importance of making sure that you do these debates on both sides and that you address problems on your own side. Otherwise, you just end up as bad as the people you're criticizing.
Yeah. And likewise, to insert some advice to the other side of that panel that you were on, if they would have done better to recognize that you were giving concessions to their side in admitting those things, the conversation could have moved a lot quicker, because they didn't even hear it. They kept arguing as if neither you nor counterpoints understood what the native, or you guys call them different, indigenous peoples are going through in Canada. And it's like, they literally said the opposite. You guys have to listen, and you can only do so much to couple your opinion with palatable information for the other side, and then the ball is in their court, right? And that was just one conversation why that's why I give the Surf so much shit, because he just doesn't listen. He is like a wall. You could just say whatever and he's just reading an info document and he just repeats stats and factoids, and that's it. And it's annoying. And there are conservatives, like you mentioned, that are like the facts, no feelings thing, and they can sometimes be like that once you get them in conversation as well. They're not really hearing it. And it's unfortunate because they have to listen for your effort in the rhetorical realm to pay off. But again, anybody who is just, they got you on a second monitor and they're listening, they pick up on that stuff, and that's definitely who you're speaking to. And while it's frustrating, your interlocutor is not always that way. Luckily on this platform, there are tons of other people listening that will pick up on that. And I think the more that you include that stuff, the more you'll find that people are thinking more positively of you. But like I tried to mention at the beginning, you have a lot of other kinds of content that were worked out the other way. So there's definitely a lot to overcome there in terms of introducing more balanced content to get people to rethink, in terms of the rebranding thing. I think that this is what the rebranding is you have to just be more palatable to people on the other side and make concessions where you thought it was a given. Of course, I agree with you on this, but those have to be included, or people come with a different takeaway because all they're hearing is no left, no left, no left, or, right's good, right's good, right's good. And then they're like, oh, this lady's just crazy righty. She doesn't fucking believe in anything of the left. And that's not reasonable because I believe in all sorts of stuff from the left.
Yeah. Just giving me a thought. First, I don't like it being, I know what you mean. I absolutely do. I don't like it being portrayed as rebranding, because that sounds like what I really don't like, which is going and apologizing just to try to fix your career or something. To me, that's what rebranding is. I don't know what you call trying to be more rhetorically effective or trying to understand the other side more, but I don't think rebranding is the right word for it.
Okay.
And, you know, I was just thinking about what you were saying about Lance and debate in general. And so much of debate is controlling your own mental state. Like in sports, they say one of the biggest parts of sports isn't even necessarily your physical strength, but it's like your mental ability and mental strength to be able to perform well and not psych yourself out and make mistakes. And in debate, it is a huge part of that as well. So we look in this conversation, started friendly, we got heightened. And when we get into that heightened state, I had to really like consider for a second that want to just be like, fuck you, you know, not going to find common ground. And it could have kept going like that. Like I have no doubt in my mind that we could have kept just going like, this is what we disagree on, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. But that mental state of, all right, let's find what's going to be useful for the rest of this conversation and being able to work your way in and out of those gears. You need to go up to that gear sometimes when you're at a point where it's just like nothing you do. It's all brick wall. And we saw that with counterpoints with Tale of Twin Rabbits, where it was just like, all right, you know, I've been trying really hard here, man, and we're just not going to get anywhere. So you need to be able to change those gears. But yeah, with Lance, there was absolutely no ability to change that gear of Lauren Connor bad. And that's how I'm going to interpret everything they say. And you will absolutely lose a debate because of that, for sure.
And it looked really bad that he threw it in a super high gear in his fucking closing statement like a little bitch. I didn't like that at all. Like, oh, now you have all these shitty things to say, huh? Interesting. Like, you sucked ass the whole time, didn't listen to anybody, had factoids, and now all of a sudden you're throwing a bunch of shit that you hadn't mentioned this entire time. Interesting.
Very curious. Yeah,
like
I'll have that conversation with him one day, I hope. Maybe I'll just have to accept his no debate, no mod premise, which, okay, give me an honest analysis of this. I think it is sus to say, I want to do a debate, but there can be no mods. Like, that is a condition. Is that sus to you? Because that's sus to me.
Yeah, it seems sus. I don't know why. Like, I'm sure that he could give me some reason in some universe that convinces me. So I'll hesitate to say it just doesn't make any sense. But like, I can't think in my head off the top of my head like why he would want that. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and just, you know, after pulling that, like, I'm not going to address any topics of the debate in my closing statement and just try to do this gotcha. I'm like, why would I trust you to do anything good faith, man? Like, I have to reasonably have some sort of reasonable hesitancy. So I'll try to work that out with a mod, maybe modern day debates or something. But we do need to wrap up since I need to go and get some last minute studying in for this debate I have in like 4 hours. So did you want to shout yourself out to my audience? Let them know who you are, what you do?
Yeah, of course. I hope I didn't piss all of you guys off too much. I'm not some like crazy lefty out here to burn around a cross or something. I help people on Twitch with rhetoric. So anytime that somebody does a debate and they didn't come off well, or they weren't able to communicate a point that they wanted to communicate, I help them with that. I'll give them advice on it. There's a lot of people, especially conservatives, that I talk to behind the scenes who don't want to be named, who like I help through with that stuff. You know, like if they had a bad debate performance or people said a bunch of mean shit to them, then we'll go through it. I'll be like, well, don't say this. I know you don't think it's important, but like, don't say this because you'll trigger them. Or like, look at how the chat responds when you do this. Like, don't do that anymore. Here's a better way of wording it. And then I also do debate reviews on my stream, like I did for Lauren in her conversation with Counterpoints, Tale of Twin Rabbits.
It's very funny.
It is.
You should watch it, guys.
But yeah.
Awesome. Also, like, I just got affiliate, so I don't even know how this stuff works, but I think someone just donated 100 subs, which I'm pretty sure is a big deal. Like, thank you. It says anonymous, so that's amazing. Thank you, dude. And for everyone else who's been doing stuff that I don't understand with subs and videos, whatever it is, I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Maybe one day I'll get a proper studio instead of a bed in the background. And seriously, Booksmarts. My mom literally sends me texts that's like, Lauren, do not swear. It's not good. You're influencing your audience. And I'm like, but I have to call him bookfucker at least once this stream. Everyone was requesting it in the chat, so there you go.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on. We'll chat again, right?
I hope so. Yeah, anytime. Just let me know.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, I'll be back again at 5 p.m. tonight because I'm learning how to have no life on this platform like everyone else. And I'll see you all then. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Well, there you guys go. You get a picture of Mooten's beautiful face for a second while I get the other window.
Why is that as background?
And I'll open up the chat so that I can actually read you guys. I've only had my Discord open. Let's see. Can I switch scenes here? Just chatting. I'm also going to turn on the other light. I never found a good point in the conversation to go and turn on my main light because I didn't want her to feel like I'm not listening to her or to goof off or to lose momentum. So I'll be right back. Let me go turn on the main light. Oh, and I should probably turn on this camera as well because it would appear that we have no camera, which of course is no good at all. Let's see. Deactivate, activate. Okay. All right. Be right back. You hungry? Are you hungry? No? Okay. Nice. You start yelling at me, I can feed you. All right, let me open up my chat here. I hope I did all right. I know that this is probably going to be a talk that I get flack for, no matter how well I did. But I'm not going to take the doomer pill. I told Lauren not to take the doomer pill with people that you can't appease. And you know what? I need to not take the doomer pill of my own accord either. So, you know, we'll deal with this as it needs to be done. That was a good talk, Book. Oh, thanks for the comment about my wallpapers. Viewers submit those. So, interesting convo. I knew it would be. Good stuff. Worth the flack. I support it. Argument education without concern for ethics, principle. I don't know what that's about. Thanks. Oh, alerts are back. I turned them off for the whole stream because, whoops. You know why. It's not helpful. Also, to anybody who's new here, I'm saving up to get an IRL setup because I'm sick of this politics shit. And I want to be able to, do stuff IRL. I meet a lot of really cool people. I'm doing a trip around Europe. I'm currently in Vienna, Austria. Prior to that, I was in Poznan, Poland. Prior to that, I was in Warsaw.
Oh, shit. Dan was in Vienna. Why didn't they hang out?
So I'm going all around the place. Let's see here. We still heard them. Oh, you did? The entire time? RIP. I know a couple of them went off. Chat got weird about halfway through, but it was manageable. Good to hear. Good to hear. Hope the mods didn't have too much of a problem. I would say any streamer in debate should watch this. Cool. Happy to hear it. And it's high praise coming from you, Frames. Boom. Also, I need to turn back on ducking properties. Yeah, sorry if I was cutting her off with like any little move I made on the mic. I fixed that as soon as I could, but you know, it is what it is. Thanks for all the subs, party people. Booksmarts, oh, they had a problem. Oh, they did have a problem, huh? Great job. There was one point at the beginning where, yeah, it did get heated. But like she said, it wouldn't be good for either of us to keep fighting. Thanks for the $5.
Which method lets you keep more money, subs or donos?
Donos. Subs are always giving half to Amazon. Good job, Book. Thanks. Actually, really disappointed with the black mic choice. I'm sorry, I don't have the right condom on it. I doubted for a second with the just one quote meme, but you had a bunch of quotes on deck and pushed it. The other thing was, Tommy, I had a bunch of quotes for the immigration thing, but Destiny's words are echoing through my mind. What is the purpose of this? And I said that I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to debate. I have quotes, Lauren. Like, I had a bunch. I even had like my line of argumentation. I literally had dialogue trees, but like, it's not what I came to do. It's not what I want to do. So like, I need to not do it. And like, even if I took like a rhetorical or optical like kind of cost to her audience by saying we really need to not debate this, like I had to, and I can't even give a quote because if I give the quote, then it continues, and it's like that was really rough. She didn't answer your what critique question. I mean, there were a couple where we didn't get answers, but I'm happy to go with the flow. She says a lot of stuff when she answers, so you know, I just worked with what I got. You know, I didn't hear them on Lauren's stream, so it probably did what you wanted, not distracting there. Cool. $3, thank you.
Good. I appreciate you.
Awesome. And I didn't hear him, which is important because I don't want to hear him. Thank you for the $3. Okay. If you put at the very beginning, at Booksmarts, I'll read all of them. Nicole, thanks.
Oh my bad. Here's $25 LOL. Yeah, you did super great and glad you took my advice. Smile.
Whew. Thanks. Oh man, we'll see how it really is when I see Reddit posts about me and stuff and Twitter. Those are the two where I know I'm probably going to have the most people upset with me. Why so many weeb emote sounds? Because I'm a weeb, dumb fuck.
Gross.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, just as a warning, I am streaming. Just letting you know.
Me too.
Oh. Well, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? How did it go?
Well, how do you think it went? We listened to the whole thing.
I think it was rough at first, and I don't think that I handled the immigration part well. I got caught in a debate when I really didn't mean to, and I felt like I got in so deep that there was no optically sound way of pulling out that I could see at the moment, and I think that costed me. But
I'm
after
really
that,
curious,
I think
why do you think that happened?
Ooh, okay. So I haven't had a chance to review the footage, but my guess would be that it was exactly what you said, that she cannot accept a claim that is more than what she did, and that upset her. And then I kept going without clarifying that very well. And I think that kind of added tension to the conversation, and then there was a breaking point, and I'm not sure where the exact breaking point was.
Yeah, a little bit. I think, so I'm going to be really razor focused. I think there was actually one thing that can save you from that ever happening in the future. Now, maybe this isn't what you meant, so I might be wrong here, but I think the issue is that for most of this conversation, when you talk, you usually say, these are other people's criticisms of you. But when you got into that immigration part, I think the thing that you started saying that was setting off like the lizard brain, this would happen to me as well. I would fall for the same thing, or not fall for it. It's not like a trick. But the way that you gave voice to some of the criticisms, you made it sound like it was your criticism. So rather than like, people say this, is it reasonable that people feel this way? You know, maybe you said things that make people feel that way. You started to say like, you said some really yikesy stuff. You've made some comments. And I think at that point she felt like, well, hold on. He's actually attacking me now. Well, hold on. Now we're going to argue about this. Because I think that's how I would hear it. If you were to say like, Destiny, don't you think that like some people could take your BLM takes like pretty wrong, blah, blah, blah. I could engage in that conversation. But if you were to start saying, Destiny, you said you wanted to kill protesters, I'd be like, okay, hold on, wait, pull out the quote books, right? Show me, right? Because now it feels like you're making the accusation, not discussing the accusations. That's how I felt listening to it.
Okay. That's actually really, really good advice. And I'll have to keep that in mind moving forward, like, because that little change could mean like a world of difference there.
Because you go from like having a meta discussion about the conversation to now it feels like, now I'm not saying you're doing this, but I'm saying to the other person, it feels like you've inserted yourself into it, and now you're having the debate. Like, oh, I know you do that. That's my guess is how it sounds. Yeah.
What are some other like really like clearly fuck up places?
I don't think any of this was clearly a fuck up. I thought most of it was fine. Even that part, like, I think that you could fault maybe her end for getting defensive too. I don't think there's any part of this was fucked up. I will say one thing that I don't know if you felt this way, or maybe I just have like maybe it's just I hear everything through my perspective. Does it feel like a lot of the complaints that she echoes are kind of similar to mine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that's really, really hard to do that I'll kind of echo from her point of view. And I think I even said this to you before you talked. It is really hard to take out criticism when 90% of the people are making these horrible bad faith attacks against you, and maybe 10% are making like these good faith criticisms. It's really, really hard to find like the value in like, well, what, you know, where is the good criticism here that I can respond to? I think that's an issue that she was having as well.
Yeah, and I know that you mentioned that to me like before and in conversations before as well, like, oh, you're like expecting me to look at these abusive ass people who are saying like literal like mistruths and accept them. And I didn't have, and I still need to look back and figure out where this was. Naturally, it came up that like we were talking about some people that were saying awful shit and how we were able to get something useful out of that. Like they're still pointing at something, and it wasn't clear to us just looking at it, but like taking in more moderate perspectives brought into focus like, oh, okay, the moderates are saying this, and now I see why the crazy people were triggered. And I think that could be helpful. But she's also dealing, like you, with a bunch of IRL people that are really fucking up her life. And I think that like, oh man, it's so tough for me to take that into account and to deal with that. But that's definitely something I need to get better at, being the guy that talks about like criticism and getting something out of the crazy people.
Yeah, because it can feel really difficult to do that. That's like sometimes almost inhuman to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a much better argument is to like stop focusing on the crazy people and start focusing on the moderates who you could reasonably reach. And I think that was something that, from my perspective, it looked like it was helpful for her to hear.
Yeah, maybe it's just really hard, and maybe we actually factually disagree on this. It feels like the loudest voices and the most popular voices are the most insane. Like when I think of like people that make criticisms of me, it's not like there's all these really good criticisms, but there's just one or two extremely far left people. Like the mainstream opinions are like, oh, Destiny hates BLM. Oh, Destiny, like now a lot of people on this platform are saying I'm like a future rapist. And that seems to be like some pretty mainstream criticism. It's not just the crazy. So that makes it even harder to try to like extract like meaningful criticism out of the crowds, I guess. Or it feels that way at least.
Yeah. And something I conceded to her as well is it's really easy to focus on those people and let that like tinge your characterization of all of the criticism of you. And I think it's really easy to just give up and be doomer because you're like, well, fuck it. Everybody that hates me is fucking crazy. You should see what my DMs are. You should see the people talking to me. And it's like, oh no, but like, if you really want to get to that side or like be able to communicate with them, like you have to focus on the moderates, not those crazy people. And like every time you find your awareness shifting to like the crazy people and characterizing everything by the crazy people, you lose out on like really helpful information. I actually think maybe dropping the idea that crazy people have something useful to give you altogether until I get buy-in on like shifting your focus there is probably better in the future.
Yeah, potentially. Resets sometimes.
Oh, okay, no worries. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Even if there are like a fuck ton of crazy people, if all of them are giving the same type of criticism, it has to map onto something. That there's something there, and it's good for you to understand that, even if the criticism isn't valid, you know?
For sure. Wow, I'm surprised that like there weren't other bad parts. Like in the moment I felt like it was going well, but it sounds like the immigration thing was the biggest problem. Some other people in chat mentioned like a condescending tone that's coming through with like repeating her name a lot, or let's see here, like not being clear about that this is like coaching or whatever, or like not being clear about the way that these conversations work. I still have a really hard time with condensing down what I'm trying to do into a really easy to understand TLDR. Like, could you think of any way that I can do that? Some kind of like tagline or something I can say that makes clear what my intentions are? Because that always feels like a hurdle to get over. Like, I don't want to debate you. I want to like help you communicate better or understand people better.
I mean, what you're doing is very weird. Like, nobody else does this. So that's just going to be something you have to constantly overcome, I think, right?
How would you characterize it?
That's what you do. You do like debate coaching, or not even really, like just more like kind of like rhetoric guiding, optics guiding. But like every time you say that, nobody's really gonna believe you, kind of, right? You're gonna
no.
Yeah, people are always gonna be like thinking that it's like a debate or something. That's how they're gonna approach it, right?
Yeah. Okay. Did your chat say anything bad? Because I know your opinions are different from theirs. Anything that triggered them?
I wasn't watching chat as much. I was just listening and then watching a game I'm playing. I wasn't really staring at chat. I think reading through all of chat and then listening to you guys at the same time would have been really hard.
Okay. Then I'll probably check it out after and see what kind of nonsense they were saying. That will be helpful as well.
There'll probably be a post to my subreddit about it. So.
Oof.
Yeah, they're super mad about everything relating to her. So.
Are they really? Did they not like that you're talking to her a bunch then?
No, holy shit, dude. There's like threads every single time I talk to her. There's like a thread like every other day where they're like, just so you guys know, this woman is like a subhuman piece of shit, disgusting fucking Nazi. Like literally like daily or bi-daily. It's like insane.
Damn. Okay. Fuck. I know that Twitter's not going to be happy, right? Like, could you predict what Twitter might be mad about before I even look at it?
It'll be the same thing that you like didn't challenge her enough, or you're helping her with her rebranding tour. That's something that a lot of people say a lot.
Do you feel like it's fair to characterize what she's doing as a rebranding tour? Like, what is your take on that?
When you say rebranding tour, there's a grifting, like a disingenuous kind of like implication there. So like if she is legitimately like presenting her opinions and doing all of that, it's kind of weird that when you say rebranding, the implication is that it's not genuine, right?
And like, if it is, she's not doing a very good job. Like, she doesn't seem like she's super great at like convincing the other side that she had changed. She said that she didn't change in her thing.
You're actually looking at like what people are saying or whatever. That nobody cares. Nobody listens to anything she says. Nobody engages in her content. It's just she's a Nazi, and now right now the current idea is that like she's just trying to make nice with everybody so that she can come in and like secretly make everybody else a Nazi again or some shit. Like that's it. Nobody actually engages with any of the subject matter. But that's true of almost everything with like online political shit.
So then they're gonna think that I'm helping a Nazi like trick people into Nazism. Is that how they're gonna interpret this?
Yes, unironically. My fan base thinks that. Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, so that's what I have to look forward to.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Fuck. Well, that's not going to be very fun. Oh, well. I mean, I won't say anything that'll get me in trouble being emotional about it, but that's frustrating, dude, because I don't know.
I think there's like, as kind of like a broader critique of the left, there's this phrase called path to redemption. It really doesn't exist online. The only way you can ever like do right by like prior wrongs is to literally like come out crawling on your hands and knees saying like, I'm going to like, suck off a guy named like Marx. I'm going to nickname a dude and fuck him every day. And like, I'm going to go on like this tour where I give all my money away and like become like a Buddha. Like there is no like path to redemption for in online left-leaning spaces. So. And that's something that Lauren said over and over again that's probably true is like, the fact that she's still a conservative, for a lot of these people online, conservatives and Nazis are literally the same fucking thing. So they don't see like a difference anyway. So, yeah.
Here's another side question unrelated to this. I think Hunter, would you characterize what Hunter Avalon has done as a rebranding thing?
I'm going to give you the same answer. In a way it is, but I don't like the term rebranding because there's like a disingenuous implication there when you say that, when you say rebranding. Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, in a way like, it kind of has, but I mean, like, I wouldn't call it rebranding to her.
Okay. Do you think I did harm by having Lauren on and talking with her? Like, were there points where I'm giving like too much credence to ideologies that could be harmful or something like that? Did I ever do that?
I don't believe in that shit anymore. Especially over the coronavirus shit and everything. My biggest thing right now is just misinformation. It's the number one thing that drives me crazy. And I think both sides of the left and right engage in this in equal levels. That the left and the right will engage in this massive amount of misinformation online. And that is the number one thing that I'm concerned with. I don't give a fuck at this point about like harmful ideologies or any of that shit because I believe that misinformation is the most harmful thing in the world right now. I don't like, I'll take the L, give me the clips or whatever. I don't care about like 2 or 3 or 4 like the mass shootings or whatever where 100 people have died. I care about like the misinformation that has made it so that people won't get fucking vaccinated, to where people are having these insane political opinions about getting rid of all the police, where people don't know about anything that's going on overseas, where like these things are destroying all of society. And I think they are so much more important than like a mass shooting or something. I think that it's absolutely destroying this planet.
Yeah. You don't have much sympathy for the victims of shootings, as we already know.
Good one.
Any other hot takes you got going on, or anything else about the conversation you want to talk about?
No. I mean, I thought it went fine, but yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. What's your HoloLive take?
I think that's just sad people online that need to understand that anime's not real.
You don't think it's cool?
No, I think it's not good. We need to live in the real world. That's misinformation.
What about Code Miko?
I think that like the ultra high effort stuff like that is a little bit different, but I don't view her as like, I don't think she presents herself as like a cutesy anime girl or whatever. I think that stuff is.
Well, sometimes she does. I'll tell you. Sometimes she is a cute anime
Does she?
girl, bro.
She always comes off as more of like, this is like what Adult Swim would do if they did like content on Twitch. That's what it always felt like to me. But
Interesting. Yeah, I think her stuff is funny. I like her streams, and I like that she has her like real life person in there a bunch too, and that she talks about like what's going on behind the scenes. It really gave me like more of an appreciation for it. Interesting. Oh, your fucking stupid styrofoam cup. What's up with that? You just don't want to rinse a fucking dish when you go to the sink? Why are you doing that?
The blender bottle things don't work for certain types of protein. So you have to basically stir it anyway. So like if I'm already getting like a spoon dirty and I'm already getting like a cup dirty and you have to like fucking rinse the fuck out of these things to clean them off or whatever, you can never leave them sit. I just buy a bunch of like cups, disposable cups, and throw them away. Fuck it.
And you're not okay with being like a dirty fuck who just has his like protein spoon by the sink and you just rinse it off every time?
I mean, you can if you want to, but listen, it's easier to just use a disposable cup.
Like, okay, I'll think of arguments, dude. We'll have a whole blown out thing. I'll hit you with utilitarianism. How many extra trips to the garbage
I mean, like,
can
technically, it's not good to use like single-use disposables. I mean, you probably shouldn't. It's not optimal. Sure. I don't actually know because I know in California, like, water is scarce. I don't actually know where the balance comes out on that. Like, styrofoam cups versus using, tap water. I don't know. I do think it's really funny that like people got really, really, really ass mad about that. But like people will order food or get takeout like every day, or I order food like every day, and that's like way, way, way more waste than than a fucking styrofoam cup. But yeah,
it was the laziness that got me. Just laziness at every level. It just blew me away.
What do you mean? Like there's laziness in like ordering food every day. There's we live like super lazy lives.
Yeah, but this is a particular brand of laziness. It's rare. You don't see that shit out in the wild. This
You've never met another person.
Styrofoam cups.
People focus on the 1,000. When you say 1,000, there's like an inner working I can see to your mind and how fucking stupid you are when you say that, right? Like it's not like I buy 1,000 and use them every day, right? It's like you use like 1 or 2 per day, right? Like people are really fixated on the 1,000 number. I think because they legitimately have nothing to say about it.
Because it would have stopped a sane person. Like when I'm like, fuck it, dude, I'm gonna get styrofoam cups. Let me do the math. How many styrofoam cups do I need? Like multiplying it out. I'm like, I'm really gonna buy 1,000 styrofoam cups right now because I don't want to wash some fucking dishes.
But they'll buy like Starbucks.
Is there a simpler solution
people will
here?
say that, but people that